Chapter 4291. Furthermore, in this heaven realm where experts ran amok, there were experts everywhere. If she didn't have profound energy to protect her, she had to bear the title of the young miss of the Gu residence. There were many people who wanted her dead. She couldn't always hide behind others and rely on their protection. Relying on others, how could he be more reliable than relying on himself? After returning to the Bone residence, the first thing Yi Qing Luo did was to make a list and passed it to Gu Yun. Gu Yun glanced over. There were all kinds of miscellaneous herbs that didn't seem to be precious. Since she was young, Gu Yun had also received basic medical knowledge. But when he looked at the list, he saw the rows of names of the herbs. Gu Yun really couldn't tell what effect these herbs had when combined together. However, she didn't ask any further. He immediately went to arrange this matter. When Gu Yun returned, Yi Qing Luo immediately asked Gu Yun to rummage through the Gu residence's warehouse to see if there were any better quality pill furnaces. Gu Yun couldn't hold back her curiosity. Young miss wants to refine pills? Yi Qing Luo nodded her head. I don't have a lot of medicinal pills on me, so I need to prepare some more in case of emergencies. All the elixirs that she had refined were stored in the profound Phoenix Ring. The Blood-Bone Barbarian King should also know about the connection between the Netherworld Phoenix Ring and the Netherworld Dragon Ring. She could not establish any connection with the Phoenix Ring. Not to mention taking things out of the profound Phoenix Ring. The poison that she poisoned Gong Xiazhu and Ren Jiaming on the street just now was from the space pocket that she kept on her a long time ago. Normally, he had the profound Phoenix Ring and the Azure Dew bracelet to move around. She didn't need a dimensional pocket. The only space pocket she had on her was something that those youngsters in the World Group had forced her to bring along. She had always carried it with her and had never opened it to see what was inside. Unexpectedly, in other words, this space pocket let her show off for the first time in this heaven realm where experts were as numerous as the clouds. She should thank the brother who forced her to carry the space pocket with her. However, after all, the space in the interspatial pocket wasn't much. It was filled with all sorts of poisons, but most of it was medicine for external and internal injuries. Yi Qing Luo had no profound energy now. The only thing that could protect him was poison. He had to refine a higher quality, colorless, and odorless poison himself. After all, as the young miss of the Gu residence, the news of her using poison today would spread throughout the entire heaven realm. Other people would definitely be on their guard when interacting with her. The poison in the space pocket was not very useful. Gu Yun quickly went to make arrangements. In the following days, Yi Qing Luo squatted in the pill refining room that Gu Yun had specially arranged for her, refining various kinds of poisons. She did not have profound energy, but she had scarlet flame. Qi Yan, who had recovered a third of his beast power, opened his mouth and spat out the flame. Using it to refine pills was much better than using her profound strength to refine pills. On top of that, Gu Yun had arranged for her to purchase the best medicinal ingredients and pill furnaces. The refining process was rather smooth. 5 days later, Yi Qing Luo walked out from the pill refining room with an ashen face. Gu Yun, who was always guarding the door, was actually not there. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept across the surroundings. He could vaguely sense that there were two people in the dark. It was probably Gu Yi and Gu San. Ever since that day on the streets when she kept Gu Yi's Dark Guard captain's wooden token, these two people were still abiding by Blood-Bone Barbaric King's orders, secretly guarding her. But in the dark. Chapter 4292. Previously, when the two of them were hiding in the dark, she wouldn't be able to find out at all. Now, even though she was someone without any profound energy, she could still faintly sense their aura. If they didn't do it on purpose, she didn't believe it. But Yi Qing Luo didn't bother about those two. Just as Zhang Xian was about to return to his room to tidy himself up, a voice suddenly rang out. A clamor came from the front. Following that, about 5 to 6 people walked over in unison. The one walking at the front had a solemn expression and was talking to the people behind him in a righteous manner. However, it couldn't stop those people from advancing. Among those few people, Yi Qing Luo spotted a familiar figure. Gong Xiazhu. The 5 people behind him were the awe-inspiring middle-aged man and the white-haired old man. Seeing that Gong Xiazhu was among them, the few of them charged forward aggressively. Yi Qing Luo also knew that they came with ill intentions. Their pace was extremely fast. He saw Yi Qing Luo standing in front. Gu Yun's expression changed slightly as she said something to those few people and hastened her footsteps towards Yi Qing Luo. Eldest young miss. What's the matter? Yi Qing Luo raised her chin towards those people behind her. Gu Yunma pursed her lips. It's still because of Princess Xiaozhu. She quickly told him what had happened in the past few days in a concise and comprehensive manner. It was probably, she had been concocting pills for a few days. Gong Xiaozhu had been causing trouble all this time. Using her status as a princess, she forcefully pushed the blame of the cultivator who was crushed to death by Xiong Batian to Yi Qing Luo. Then, in front of the emperor, she tearfully complained about her grievances and the face she had lost that day. In addition, there were rumors among the people. The emperor was furious. Then, he thoroughly investigated the matter. It was discovered that the second young master of the Gu clan had also been humiliated by the young miss of the Gu clan. Then, he joined forces with the Ren family. As a result, a royal family, 2 clans with profound practitioner forces that had died, and the Ren family were all clamoring for the young lady of the Gu family to give them an explanation. But, Yi Qing Luo had been refining pills these few days. He refused to meet her at the door. The entire Gu residence would not be able to give them any explanation. Wasn't this looking down on the imperial power? Wasn't this looking down on the other forces? Everyone was enraged. Under Gong Xiazhu's instigation. He was valiant and high-spirited, directly charging in with Gong Xiazhu. Following that, was what Yi Qing Luo was looking at right now. After Yi Qing Luo heard this, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. These people spoke in a dignified manner. What kind of explanation did they want? To put it bluntly. Chapter 4293. The old man pulled a long face and tried to suppress his anger. A few days ago, the young lady and her Royal Highness's battle pet caused the deaths of our young masters. He paused, his voice suddenly rising. Don't tell me. Eldest Miss shouldn't give us an explanation? When Yi Qing Luo heard that, her expression didn't have the slightest change, as she shot him a glance with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Your young master's death, what has it got to do with me? Someone from your family died, and you're asking me for an explanation? Am I your father? No, am I your mother? His words were like a heavy slap to the old man's face. The old man's face immediately flushed red. His face was ashen. Is this the upbringing of the Gu residents? Upbringing is also for people. Yi Qing Luo disagreed. Do you think you can be considered as human? Why should she be nice to people who came to find trouble with her? Would they stop looking for trouble if he gave them a good attitude? Yi Qing Luo's words directly scolded those few people on the opposite side. The few of them looked at each other with extremely ugly expressions. They had heard that the young miss of the Gu residence had a temper that was not to be trifled with. Moreover, she was extremely arrogant and despotic. After seeing the man, he was even better than the rumors. First young miss of the Gu clan. Gong Xiaozhu took a step forward as she looked at Yi Qing Luo with a venomous gaze. The reason why we're here today is merely to seek an explanation for the matter that day. Eldest young miss is so overbearing, could it be that you have a guilty conscience? Seeing Yi Qing Luo, the hatred in her heart surged up. The humiliation she had suffered in Yi Qing Luo's hands that day, she wanted to make Yi Qing Luo pay back bit by bit. Yi Qing Luo glanced at her disapprovingly as her smile was filled with ridicule. What am I guilty of? As for what happened that day, the onlookers will naturally know. What explanation do I need to give you? She looked at the others as if she was looking at an idiot. With just a few words, you managed to incite the representatives of the clan to come to the Bone residence to demand an explanation. Are you all stupid? The people who were treated like fools, why was this girl so happy to criticize the heavens and the earth? They naturally knew what had happened that day. Since they would represent the clan and follow Gong Xiazhu to the Gu residence, it was impossible for them to do so. Naturally, it was the will of the family. His goal wasn't just for what had happened that day. However, when it came from the mouth of the first miss of the Gu residence, it was as if the first miss of the Gu residence. Did that make them fools who could be incited at will? Eldest young miss, since the lords have come, they have naturally investigated thoroughly. You still want to quibble? Gong Xiazhu sneered, just the fact that you poisoned me and Brother Ming is enough for you to pay with your life. He mentioned the word poison. The old man's face darkened even more. Even his eyes revealed a ferocious look that could not be ignored. The others also stared furiously at Yi Qing Luo. Shrouded by several pairs of gloomy eyes, the young girl's expression didn't change. Instead, her pink lips curled into a mocking smile. Pay with my life? Yi Qing Luo sneered, then why don't you try? I also want to see how you are going to take my life. Gong Xiazhu clenched her fists so tightly that her fingertips turned slightly white. Bone Lord is not in the heaven realm. How long do you think you can be arrogant for? Chapter 4294. Who are you calling flustered and exasperated? Gong Xiazhu couldn't control her own emotions as her fingernails almost broke her palms. Her venomous eyes stared deadly at Yi Qing Luo. The unwillingness in her heart spread throughout her chest. Obviously, the young lady was in a sorry state. Her face was covered in dust. On that face, there were patches of black marks which looked extremely comical. The clothes on her were in a mess. Her skirt was stained with dust and charcoal. She looked like a refugee who escaped from the famine. But why, when the young lady smiled and raised her head? Even she felt pressured by that awe-inspiring and oppressive aura. Gong Xiazhu wasn't willing to admit it. But she had to admit it. The eldest young miss of the Gu residence was born to stand on a high position. Thinking of this, she clenched her fists tightly and tightened her grip. I have nothing to say to you. Yi Qing Luo knocked on her sore arm as her entire body was sticky and extremely uncomfortable. Gu Yun, send the guests off. Wasting time with these people. Why not go to the hot spring room to tidy herself up? Eldest young miss. The few of them immediately walked past Gu Yun and stood in a row in front of Yi Qing Luo. Eldest young miss, Bone Lord is not in the residence now, so you are the master of the Gu residence. Don't you feel that? Your current actions are bringing shame to the Gu residence. Yi Qing Luo's gaze was fixed on the person who spoke. It was a middle-aged man who stood on the right side of Gong Xiazhu. Looking at his dressing and temperament, he should be someone from some family who was in charge of some small places. As a representative, he was sent to test her bottom line. He could be considered as cannon fodder. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with a teasing smile. Are you lecturing me? Bringing shame to the Gu residence? She wanted to play with the Gu residence till it was ruined, all right? Why would she be afraid of the Gu residence's reputation? The middle-aged man was questioned by Yi Qing Luo in a cold tone as his heart trembled as he stuttered, No, I don't dare, I just saw that eldest young miss is young and arrogant, so I reminded eldest young Mississippi. Yi Qing Luo sneered, you said it yourself, I am the current master of the Gu residence. I can do whatever I want and it has nothing to do with you. If you don't like my way of doing things, then scram from the Gu residence. You. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and raised his hand to point at Yi Qing Luo. But as soon as he raised his hand, he gritted his teeth and put it down. "You're simply unreasonable." This was no longer a problem that could be explained with the word arrogance. This girl was extremely hostile to all of them. As long as he opened his mouth, he would be unable to defend himself. Gu Yun, who was standing by Yi Qing Luo's side, was stunned by this valiant Yi Qing Luo. After getting along with each other for some time, Gu Yun also knew that Yi Qing Luo wasn't such a flamboyant person. There must be a reason why she was so rude and unforgiving in her words. Gu Yun didn't show any abnormalities either. Gong Xiaoju's red lips were tightly pursed into a straight line as she said word by word, "Eldest young Mrs. Guilty look is rather laughable. Are you that afraid that we will ask about what happened that day?" Eldest young Miss kept on changing the topic, showing an impatient attitude to talk to us. "Is it because you don't dare to talk to us?" The few of them's expressions changed slightly as the way they looked at Yi Qing Luo had a subtle change. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she propped up her chin. "Don't you know that your second young master Ren willingly got poisoned?" Naturally, she could tell the cause of Ren Jianming's poisoning. In order to get close to her, he didn't hesitate to poison himself and suffer pain. So before Yi Qing Luo left, she specially passed the antidote to Ren Jianming. She didn't want to have any other relationship with Ren Jianming. In exchange for a bottle of antidote, Gong Xiaoju would lower her head. But, he had to admit, this Ren Jianming's willpower was rather strong. That kind of inhuman torture, he could even withstand it. Of course, Yi Qing Luo had never felt that the reason why Ren Jianming did this was because he liked her and admired her, hence he tried ways and means to get close to her. There was a motive behind this. The elderly pursed his lips tightly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo coldly. "Eldest young miss, since we've taken the initiative to come here, it's to settle this matter. We don't want to argue with eldest young Mississippi." As he spoke, his expression became increasingly gloomy. It was as if a layer of dark clouds had covered the sky. Regardless of the reason for the poisoning, First Miss has indeed poisoned him and almost killed the second young master. The elderly looked at the rest of the middle-aged men. The other two young masters who were crushed to death by Xiong Badian also died in the battle between you and Princess Xia Zhu. So the two young masters' deaths are definitely related to you. No matter what, eldest young miss should at least give us an explanation for this. When the old man asked his last question, the old man's eyes widened. In the air, an invisible pressure started to spread. She had to get this bird. Gong Xiaoju clenched her fists and her eyes flickered. He didn't even try to hide his gaze. Yi Qing Luo casually glanced at him and her lips couldn't help but curled into a ridiculing arc. Gong Xiaoju didn't feel that there was anything wrong with her greed for Qi Yan. A powerful battle pet deserved a powerful master. The first miss of the Gu residence was merely proficient in using poison. But after all, he was just trash without any profound energy. What are you looking at? Look at your bird grandpa with this kind of eyes again. Be careful that I peck your eyes blind. Qi Yan glanced at Gong Xiaoju disdainfully. The minute he opened his mouth, whatever noble elegance disappeared. Gong Xiaoju was frightened by Qi Yan's vicious gaze as she shrunk her neck. But the desire for Qi Yan in her heart grew even more. Qi Yan flapped his tail and fell into Yi Qing Luo's palm. Were these really the secret guards of the Gu residence? As a hidden guard, he actually dared to talk back to the master of the Gu residence? He even dared to insult the master of the Bone Mansion? They all had different expressions on their faces, and their eyeballs were rolling non-stop. Could it be, the first young miss of the Gu clan was actually not favored in the Gu clan? So, even the hidden guards of the Gu residence could suppress her? This thought immediately caused a certain emotion to surge in the hearts of the few of them. His vision kept shifting between Yi Qing Luo and those two secret guards. Facing such a gaze, Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to mind, as her expression was extremely indifferent. After hearing Gu San's words, there wasn't any change in her expression. She tilted her head, as her expression was languid. Really? In this way, you will acknowledge him as your master, right? Chapter 4300. Gu Yun walked briskly into the meeting hall and stood in front of the two secret guards. Gu Yi's expression moved as his eyes fixed on Gu Yun for some time before he slowly lowered his head. Captain. What are you doing here? Gu Yun's expression was cold as she looked at Gu San. That gaze seemed to be reprimanding Gu San with, what are you up to this time? This caused Gu San's emotions to rise explosively. Gu Yun. What right do you have to question me? Don't think that just because you're hugging her thigh, you're really the captain of the secret guards. In my heart, the captain is only Gu Yi. Gu San. Gu Yi tugged Gu San's arm hard, apologized to the captain. Gu San gave a heavy harumph as he turned his head away. Gu Yi still wanted to say something. The girl who was sitting lazily suddenly stood up. In a split second, the entire hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone's vision involuntarily turned towards Yiqing Luo. She was like a natural-born queen. Every move she made was able to attract everyone's attention. There's no need to apologize. Yiqing Luo's indifferent voice revealed a trace of coldness. She gently caressed the phoenix feathers as she lazily raised her eyelids. Gu Yun, as the newly appointed captain. Secret guards disobeying orders, disobeying discipline and offending their superiors, what punishment should they receive? Gu Yun heard the faint anger in Yiqing Luo's tone. She took a look at the pale-faced Gu San and Gu Yi whose expression wasn't too good as she pursed her lips and replied, remove the secret guard title and, as a traitor, execute. The punishment of dismemberment by 5 horses. Yiqing Luo raised her hand as her fingers moved lightly, then we'll do it this way. Gu Yun was stunned as her face was filled with hesitation. Her hesitation wasn't because she was concerned about Gu Yi and Gu San. But she was worried if Yiqing Luo's action would cause the other secret guards to retaliate. After all, this Gu Yi had been the captain for 10 years. In the Gu residence's secret guards, most of them were brought up by him. If Yiqing Luo moved Gu Yi during the period when Bone Lord wasn't in the residence, she was worried that those secret guards would explode because of this. Yiqing Luo saw through Gu Yun's thoughts as her lips curled upwards, her smile bright and beautiful. You're now the captain of the secret guards, no need to worry. Gu Yun's expression was complicated but she still obeyed Yiqing Luo's command as she turned around to look at the two people behind her. Her expression was extremely solemn, without the slightest emotion. Gu San realized that Gu Yun was serious. Her face instantly turned pale and her body trembled with all her might. You can't do this. Gu Yun, Gu Jun is not in the residence now. If you dare to touch us, not you guys, it's you. Yiqing Luo indifferently interrupted her words. Everyone's hearts were inexplicably on edge. Just now, the young girl's actions, could it be that she was purposely killing the chicken to warn the monkey, to take them down a notch? It was an invisible message to them. She, the first miss of the Gu residence, was fearless? Why are all of you staring at me for? Yiqing Luo sensed their gazes and raised her brows slightly as she looked over. The few of them retracted their gazes in a panic. Their bodies were tense as they sat up straight. Yiqing Luo. Was she that terrifying? Why did he look at her as if he was looking at a monster? She was a weak wastrel without the strength to even truss a chicken. If Yiqing Luo knew what those people were thinking in their hearts, she would definitely have a look of disdain and ridicule, expressing that they were thinking too much. She had called Gu 1 and Gu 3 out at this moment, was merely to let these people bear witness. After all, this place wasn't her turf. To kill the Gu residence's secret guards. Chapter 4302. Gu San dared to frown at her, his current master, in front of outsiders. This was enough for her to have an excuse to kill Gu San. Even when others mentioned this matter, they would only say that she was helping the Gu residents to clean up the house. After all, as a secret guard, going against one's superior was a capital offense. By then, even if the barbaric Blood-Bone King asked, she would have an explanation. Surely she couldn't just kill someone else's man for no reason. On the other side, the crowd who had retracted their gazes, after they had done their subconscious actions, regained their senses and couldn't help but gave themselves a tight slap. How could they possibly be afraid of a young lass? How could they possibly meet a young lass's gaze and be scared to this state? Ren family's old man's face sunk, as the hand which was hanging on the wooden chair, clenched into a fist shape. Since eldest young Mrs. Private Matter has been settled, now isn't it our turn to settle our accounts? Yi Qing Luo found a comfortable position to lean against, as one hand propped up her chin, as she squinted at Ren family's old man with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Accounts? I have no accounts to settle with your Ren family. Not waiting for those people to open their mouths, Yi Qing Luo had already lazily raised her hand. Her jade-like finger slowly raised up one finger. Number 1, second young Master Ren took the initiative to receive my poison. He is a cultivator, and I am just an ordinary person. My speed of withdrawing the poison is not as fast as his, so him being poisoned is his own fault. What has it got to do with me? Following that, her gaze directly swept past the stiff Ren family's old man, as she looked towards the other middle-aged men. The second finger was raised. Number 2, the battle pet battle, was suggested by Princess. The one who smashed your young master to death is also Princess's battle pet. What has it got to do with me, and what has it got to do with my little battle pet? Haven't you seen your young master's corpse? Do you think with my little battle pet's size, it can smash your young master into minced meat? The middle-aged men were choked till they couldn't say a single word. Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes, with a look of disdain. A bunch of retards, trying to find someone to take the blame. Don't use your brains. The middle-aged men. This young lady's mouth really couldn't say anything good. Someone wanted to open his mouth to refute Yi Qing Luo. But the minute he recalled Yi Qing Luo's indifferent expression earlier, directly asking Miss Yun to drag that secret guard down and execute the punishment of dismemberment, the words that were about to come out from his mouth were swallowed back unfathomably. The atmosphere in the hall immediately fell into a strange silence. A few breaths later, Gong Xiaozhu suddenly raised his head with a livid and hideous expression. His eyes were filled with intense disgust and hatred. Every single word of eldest miss is trying to clear her name of responsibility. But, eldest miss, have you forgotten that there were at least 100 onlookers that day? If there were only 1 or 2 people who believed that this matter had nothing to do with you, we wouldn't have come to you today. But if over 100 spectators all think that you should take responsibility for what happened that day, then, this proves that whether it is the Ren family or the Zhao and Li families, you have an undeniable responsibility. Gong Xiaozhu said and stood up excitedly. It's a fact that Brother Ming was poisoned, and it's also a fact that he almost fainted from the poison. Xiong Badian smashed the Zhao and Li family's young master because your battle pet used its beast power to flip Xiong Badian, causing Xiong Badian to lose his balance. Chapter 4303. Gong Xiaozhu's voice turned crazier and crazier as her eyes shone with a maniacal glint. Return my Xiong Badian to me. If Xiong Badian disappears, then use your war pet to pay for it. Yi Qing Luo. Talking about Xiong Badian at such length, in actual fact. The last sentence was the main point, right? Was she still dreaming of her Qi Yan? Heh. Did Gong Xiaozhu think that her Qi Yan was so easy to contract? Alright, it seemed that it was rather easy for her to contract Qi Yan. After all, Shao Qi was there to help. But even if she contracted Qi Yan, there weren't many people who could get along with Qi Yan. Sigh, mentioning Shao Qi. She missed everyone in the pet space. Alas, she who had no profound energy was unable to form a mental link with the pet space. Luckily, there was a little Qi Yan to accompany her. It allowed her to have a familiar companion by her side in this inexplicable heaven realm. Yiqing Luo played with Qi Yan's wings as her brows slowly rose. Her gaze was calm as she swept a glance at Gong Xiaozhu. Gong Xiaozhu's expression was calm and tranquil. His gaze moved very quickly, without much emotion. As though she didn't put Gong Xiaozhu in her eyes at all. The truth was indeed so. After the young lady shifted her gaze, her voice was very languid. Since that's the case, then we can't come to an agreement. Gong Xiaozhu's back, for some reason, seemed to be covered with a layer of frost the moment the young lady's gaze swept past. That cold tone of voice also exuded a terrifying chill. Gong Xiaozhu's heart suddenly tightened. Immediately after, she heard the young lady continued, "If we can't come to an agreement, then please leave. Whatever you want to do, just bring it on." These words were obviously considered as provocation and clamoring. But when the young lady said these words expressionlessly, the few of them felt an indescribable chill in their chest. Gong Xiaozhu's body stiffened as her limbs turned icy cold. But she forced herself to look at Yiqing Luo as her voice trembled slightly. "Eldest young Mrs. Meaning is. You want to represent the Gu residents to go against the Zhao and Li family, Ren family, and the royal family?" As she said that, her gaze shot towards the expressionless Gu Yi who was standing by Yiqing Luo's side. Apparently she knew that Gu Yi wasn't convinced by Yiqing Luo wholeheartedly, so she intentionally used the bone manner to provoke Gu Yi. However, Gu Yi was still expressionless, and he did not even raise his eyes. Yiqing Luo naturally understood Gong Xiaozhu's motive. She sneered and her lazy eyes finally fell on Gong Xiaozhu. She smiled and said in a clear voice, "Aren't you tired of passing messages like this? Wouldn't it be more convenient to let the person behind you come out and talk to me face to face?" There was a hint of ridicule in her tone. Gong Xiaozhu's face turned pale and she shrank back. What do you mean by that person behind me?" "Princess Xiaozhu, with your intelligence, you won't understand." Yiqing Luo didn't even have the desire to answer her. "If the person behind you still wants to be a coward, then directly send the guest off." These people could still maintain their composure in front of her, who was covered in dirt. She was covered in dirt and was in a sorry state. But there was no way she could maintain her composure. Not being able to see the person behind Gong Xiaozhu, Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to waste her bathing time with this bunch of retards. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she directly stood up and was about to leave the meeting hall. Suddenly, an extremely melodious clear voice was heard from outside the door. "You're indeed the eldest young miss of the Gu residents, indeed intelligent." That was a lady's voice. Chapter 4304. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she looked towards the direction of the voice. The meeting hall's door was opened and a slender figure walked in slowly. The sunlight outside shone on the lady's exquisite beauty, as though it had coated the lady with a layer of fluorescent light. This lady didn't seem like an ordinary lady. She exuded the style of a strong woman from head to toe. Especially that pair of ink-black eyes, which carried the dignity of a superior. Just one look was enough to make one feel respect and awe. Her dressing wasn't ostentatious. Although it wasn't simple, but it wasn't complicated either. One could tell that this was a lady with her own independent thoughts. Yiqing Luo was sizing her up. The lady was also sizing Yiqing Luo up. As both of their gazes intersected, there seemed to be some kind of different sparks in the air. When everyone saw the person, they all stood up abruptly. Ren family's old man bowed respectfully towards that person, "Eldest young Mississippi." The others also greeted her respectfully, "Eldest young Miss Ren." The few of them also greeted her respectfully, "Eldest young Miss Ren." The few of them's voices broke the undercurrent surging between the both of them. Yiqing Luo half squinted her eyes as she revealed a deep meaning. She knew that when she saw Gong Xiaozhu a few days ago, she was a big-breasted, brainless idiot. Today, every single word and sentence was on point. It was this lady who taught Gong Xiaozhu how to speak behind her back. Ren family's eldest young miss, Ren Jianming's elder sister. Eldest young miss. This form of address really had an extraordinary meaning. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes slowly rose as her lips curled into a faint arc. Eldest young miss Ren, right? Since eldest young miss is so curious about me, why don't you do it yourself? Why must you make use of a fool to do it for you? When she said the word fool, Yiqing Luo's gaze intentionally shot a glance towards Gong Xiaozhu. Gong Xiaozhu was both angry and anxious. Who are you calling a fool? I'm talking about whoever replied earlier. Yiqing Luo gave a fake smile. Gong Xiaozhu's face flushed red as she clenched her fists tightly as her body trembled in anger. Don't think that you can continue to be arrogant. With sistering around, who do you think you are? Xiaozhu, the woman spoke and glanced at Gong Xiaozhu indifferently. Gong Xiaozhu's face turned even redder, but she obediently shut her mouth and lowered her head. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. This young mistress of the Ren family seemed to be something. From the looks of it, compared to Ren Jianming, he was much more formidable. He could even call Gong Xiaozhu's name directly. First Miss of the Gu clan. Ren family's eldest young Miss Ren Jianming's beautiful eyes met with Yiqing Luo's, as both of their eyes were probing each other. I'm only curious, what kind of lady does my arrogant brother fancy? Yiqing Luo leaned lazily against the back of the chair as her lips curled indifferently. Sorry, I don't fancy your brother. His words shocked the surrounding people, causing their bodies to stiffen and their scalps to go numb. Did this girl know what she was talking about? Looking down on second young Master Ren? She didn't know how many people and clans in the Heaven Realm were thinking of ways to send their daughters to the Ren clan. He was a cultivation prodigy that only appeared once in 100 years. He was also the person who would become the head of the Ren family in the future. Furthermore, did she know that the person she was facing now was the current head of the Ren family, eldest young Miss Ren? Everyone in the old city knew about it. Chapter 4305. In front of the eldest miss of the Ren family, she said that she didn't fancy the brother she was so proud of. Eldest miss of the Gu residence really had guts. But while everyone was in shock, the girl that they were thinking about was still smiling faintly. Ren Jianming's expression sunk slightly. Do you know who is the person whom you rejected? Not interested to know. Yiqing Luo was indifferent. Eldest miss of the Gu residence, as a person, you need to leave a way out for yourself. Ren Jianming's tone revealed some coercion. Although Bone Lord had brought you back to the Gu residence, but in this Heaven Realm, if you want to adapt, you still need to abide by the Heaven Realm's rules. Yiqing Luo's gaze changed slightly. It wasn't because of Ren Jianming's threat. But, Ren Jianming's meaning seemed to be that she knew that she wasn't someone who was in the Heaven Realm right from the start. Did Ren Jianming know that she was brought up from the Earth Realm by the barbaric Blood-Bone King? Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't reply, the stern lines on Ren Jianming's face softened slightly. Eldest miss of the Gu residence is intelligent and has a forthright character. Although you don't have any profound energy, but you are worthy of my Ren family. Since my brother has taken a liking to you, I will respect my brother's foresight. When Bone Lord is back, I will discuss with the Gu residents about our marriage. Yiqing Luo. Why was it that no matter where she went, she couldn't escape the curse of being mysteriously engaged? She rolled her eyes. Since you like your younger brother so much, why don't you just marry him? Why put on an act in front of me? That sentence shocked the surrounding people so much that their spines turned cold as their palms were filled with cold sweat. What on earth was this eldest miss of the Gu residence saying? Actually wanted eldest Miss Ren to marry second young Master Ren? How did she come up with such an earth-shattering idea? Ren Jianming's expression congealed as her expression turned black. Eldest miss of the Gu residence, you can't talk nonsense. Jianming is my brother. Yiqing Luo crossed her legs as she was smiling, but there wasn't any hint of a smile in her eyes. Anyway, I have no interest in your brother. If you want to find a wife for your brother, go ahead and marry her yourself. Don't drag me into it, I have no time to bother about you. Ren Jianying's expression turned gloomy. She lifted her feet and walked towards Yiqing Luo. With a formless pressure, it poured down in torrents. That exquisite and beautiful face was also filled with a fierce aura. Does the first young miss of the Gu clan really think that the Gu clan can do whatever they want? Her voice was very cold. Yiqing Luo tilted her head, as her charming eyes looked at the lady who was getting closer to her, as her expression remained unchanged. I don't know if the Gu residents can cover the sky with one hand, but I know that the Ren family doesn't have that ability. He was just 3 steps away from Yiqing Luo. Ren Jianying suddenly stopped in her tracks. Gu Yi's figure, at this instance, shifted to the front of Yiqing Luo, blocking in front of her. Ren Jianying's flamboyant and beautiful face was filled with some incomprehensible emotions. I've always heard rumors about the young miss of the Gu clan. Seeing you today, it seems that you're not much different from the rumors. I've finally learned something. Well said, well said. Yiqing Luo replied casually. Chapter 4306. The feather fan in Yiqing Luo's hand swayed slightly and pressed against her alluring pink lips. Return the same words to eldest young Miss Ren, don't cry and beg me when the time comes. Ren Jianying snorted coldly. She straightened her back, raised her chin slightly, and walked towards the door. Let's go. The few people who were frozen in place felt their legs go soft. Seeing that Ren Jianying had already walked to the door, he staggered and followed her. Gong Xiaozhu walked at the back with a ferocious expression on his face. When she stepped out of the meeting hall's main door, she turned her head around and stared venomously at Yiqing Luo. Very quickly, Guyun came forward and turned her head to look at the door while approaching Yiqing Luo with concern. Eldest young miss, are you all right? Do I look like someone who will get into trouble? Yiqing Luo spread out her hands lazily and said with a smile. Guyun looked in the direction of the door again. Her expression was a little grave. Eldest miss, why do you think they came here? Probing. Yiqing Luo smiled. Probe? Guyun was puzzled. Probe what? They are investigating the background of this eldest young miss who suddenly appeared in the Gu residence. They also want to know what my position in the Gu residence is. Yiqing Luo explained. Guyun nodded in understanding. For example, the Bone Mansion was a force that had absolute power in the Heaven Realm. Any random person who appeared beside Bone Lord would be the center of attention in the Heaven Realm. After all, Bone Lord had personally brought her back and announced her identity as the eldest Mississippi. It would definitely cause a sensation in the entire Heaven Realm. Guyun suddenly thought of something, and her expression changed slightly. Since they are here to investigate the position of the eldest miss in the Gu residence, then Gu San's actions just now, isn't it? Thinking of this, Guyun's face instantly turned pale. A hidden guard of the Gu residence had offended his superior in front of outsiders. He did not give the first miss any face at all. If those people spread the news, it was likely that not long later, the entire Heaven Realm would think that eldest miss was not favored in the Gu residence. No wonder eldest miss was so angry at that time. Obviously, Bone Monarch doted on eldest miss so much that he even gave the Bone Residence's domino plate to eldest miss. Was this not enough to prove that Bone Lord valued eldest miss? Don't worry, eldest Mississippi. I will definitely punish Gu San severely. I will let the Gu Residence's secret guards learn a lesson. Gu Yun's eyes became fierce. Gu Yi, who had been standing by Yiqing Luo's side, trembled slightly. However, he maintained a quiet posture with his head lowered and did not say anything. Yiqing Luo's vision lightly fell onto Gu Yi, as her tone was indifferent. Do you blame me? Gu Yi went into a blank for a moment before he realized that Yiqing Luo was asking him. His stern and rigid face was somewhat stiff. Was it strange? He couldn't tell what he was feeling. It was not strange. Gu San, who had always been by her side for more than 10 years, was ordered by her to carry the name of a traitor and die. It was strange. What she did was not wrong. Wrong, it really was Gu San. He was a secret guard. Shadow guards shouldn't have their own emotions. After a long time, Gui lowered his eyes and said, "I don't dare." That is to say. It's weird, but it doesn't dare to. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes twitched. Gui maintained his posture of lowering his head, as his lips moved, but he didn't know how to explain. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly, as she directly walked out of the meeting hall. Chapter 4307. Gu Yi raised his head abruptly. He stared blankly at the young lady's departing figure. In his pupils, there was some kind of emotion surging. He couldn't understand the lady whom Bone Lord had brought back. She obviously had no profound energy, but she lived so wantonly, as though she wasn't afraid of anything. She looked vicious and merciless. But in actual fact, whether it was against Princess Xia Zhu or Gu San, it was all because Princess Xia Zhu and Gu San took the initiative to provoke her. That was why she retaliated. But to those who treated her well, for example, Gu Yun, was repaying with the most sincere kindness. Earlier, that sentence of hers was a reminder to him. Gu San's ending was already decided. After all, many outsiders had seen it. If he helped, he would only become Gu San's accomplice. Her reminder was because earlier, when Ren Jianying approached, he blocked in front of her. Yiqing Luo came out of the meeting hall. The first thing she did was to rush into the hot spring room to take a bath. Because of the previous incident where Ren Jianming peeped. At this moment, Gu Yun was guarding at the entrance of the hot spring room. Until Yiqing Luo tidied herself up, dressed neatly and walked out of the hot spring room. Gu Yun held a cloak in her hand as she draped it over Yiqing Luo. "Eldest miss, what do you want to do next? Do you need me to help you find out Zhao and Li family, as well as Ren family's next move?" Ever since Yiqing Luo mentioned that the group of them came to the Gu residence to investigate, Gu Yun's heart had been tense because of Gu San's matter. Yiqing Luo sat on the stone bench, allowing Gu Yun to wipe her wet hair, as she replied disapprovingly, "No need, they can do whatever they want, don't tell me Gu residence can't stop them." Gu Yun's hand paused for a moment. If the Zhao and Li family want to take action on Gu residence naturally can stop them, but there's still the Ren family. She paused for a moment, before continuing, Ren family's internal affairs are extremely complicated. Ren family's second young master, although his innate talent is outstanding, but because of his innate talent, he was pampered by the Ren family since young. He only thinks about eating, drinking, and playing, totally without the temperament of a future patriarch. On the surface, the Ren clan is managed by the Ren clan's clan head. However, in reality, the true master of the Ren clan is the Ren clan's eldest young Mississippi. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her originally closed eyes suddenly opened. No wonder, she felt that Ren Jianying had the demeanor of a superior. No matter how one looked at her, she had the demeanor of a strong and valiant woman. Who would have thought that he would actually be this strong? The Ren family's second young master has always been idle, and does not have the slightest interest in inheriting the position of Ren family's family head. Many powers are saying that in the future, the Ren family might become the first female family head to be succeeded by a woman. Gu Yun saw that Yiqing Luo's interest was piqued and continued, "Today Ren family's eldest young miss came over personally. Based on Ren family's eldest young miss character, I'm afraid she won't let this matter rest." Yiqing Luo touched her lower jaw as her pink lips rose slightly. "Looks like this Ren family is quite fun." A glint flashed across her eyes. Did he have nothing better to do? Did he not have the slightest interest in inheriting the position of patriarch? He wasn't interested. Or did he not dare to be interested? Yi Qing Luo recalled how she looked when she met Ren Jianming. Between her breathing, she snorted lightly. Eldest young miss, before Bone Lord returns to the residence, if it's possible, it's best to avoid any conflict with the Ren family. Gu Yun reminded. Chapter 4308. But for the past few days, Yi Qing Luo was either loitering around the old city streets and alleys or cooped up in the Gu residence. He knew his place and didn't cause any trouble. While Gu Yun heaved a sigh of relief, she also felt a little helpless. Because during this period of time, from time to time, the second young master of the Ren family would enter the Bone residence. From time to time, it would appear in front of Yi Qing Luo. From time to time, he would create some romantic surprises. After the commotion in the Gu residence was over, there was a commotion outside. After the commotion outside, the commotion at home began. In any case, everyone in the old city knew that the second young master of the Ren family had taken a liking to the first young lady of the Gu clan. He was thinking of ways and means to pursue the first young lady of the Gu clan. It was also rumored that the first young miss of the Gu family did not like the second young master of the Ren family at all and had righteously rejected the second young master of the Ren family. However, the second young master of the Ren family was shameless and only wanted to win the beauty. This news broke the hearts of all the girls in the old city. They missed the second young master of the Ren family, and they couldn't bear to see him suffer even the slightest bit. However, in front of the first miss of the Gu residence, he had to lower his head and act like a child. His heart ached. As a result, all the young ladies in the old city held deep resentment towards the first miss of the Gu clan. Wherever Yi Qing Luo went, she could feel the sinister wind coming from her back. Yi Qing Luo. Couldn't she reject him even if she didn't like him? Only by rejecting their male idol would they have a chance, right? What was there to hate? Young miss, where else do you want to go? Behind him, Ren Jianming smiled obsequiously. He was carrying all kinds of big bags on his back and many small ones in his hands. Those were all. Ren family's second young master's beautiful excuse, bought for Yi Qing Luo, to make her happy. As long as Yi Qing Luo passed by, her eyes would stop on something for a second longer. He bought them all. He was so rich that he had no friends. Yi Qing Luo couldn't be bothered to stop her. In any case, this silly man was stupid and had a lot of money. Yi Qing Luo didn't even bother about him. Ren Jianming was really annoying when he started pestering people. However, when he became shameless, no matter how he was beaten, scolded, or given a face, he would still come up to them with a smirk. She had even tried using drugs to force him to retreat. Once the effects of the medicine wore off, Ren Jianming could continue to pester her with a smirk. Yi Qing Luo was really impressed by Ren Jianming's thick skin. She really didn't know what part of her had caught Ren Jianming's eyes that were growing on top of her head. She was a trash without any profound energy. Aside from her title as the first young miss of the Gu residence, Gu Ruoyun was not the only one. There didn't seem to be anything that could attract Ren Jianming, right? However, with Ren Jianming's status and identity, did he still need to find her, the young miss of the Gu residence, for a marriage alliance? Isn't the wind cloud list going to start soon? Don't you need to cultivate by following me around every day? Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at Ren Jianming. It was only half a month away from the wind cloud list. Many high officials, nobles, and the participating profound practitioners were all training madly just to achieve a good result on the wind and cloud list. And this. Ren Jianming, who had vowed from the very beginning that he would come out on top on the billboard, was following behind her every day, doing nothing. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's question, Ren Jianming's eyes lit up. His smile was full of flattery, and his eyes were bright. So eldest miss is so concerned about me? So afraid that the person you're going to marry isn't me? Eldest miss, don't worry, I will definitely be able to get first place on the wind cloud list, and then marry you grandly. Chapter 4309. Even if I don't cultivate, I'll definitely take the top spot on the excellence list. The more Ren Jianming spoke, the more excited he became. His sparkling eyes blinked as he looked at Yiqing Luo, revealing an affectionate gaze. Even if it's for eldest young miss, this master will also work hard. Yiqing Luo. Get lost. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. She would only talk to a lunatic if she was sick. Ren Jianming was a lunatic. However, Ren Jianming's tone was indeed full of confidence. Was this the difference between a genius and a useless person? The others worked hard, cultivated, trained, and improved themselves time and time again. As for him, he just wandered around here and there. He looked as if he had never cultivated before. However, he was confident that he would be able to obtain the top spot on the wind cloud list. Sigh, there was no point in being envious. If he had talent, that was his own ability. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about Ren Jianming as she continued to wander around the streets. Wherever he went, there would be many onlookers gathering behind him. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about them. During this period of time, Yiqing Luo seemed to be wandering around the streets with nothing to do. In reality, he was trying to figure out the terrain of the old city. In her mind, she could already picture the topography of the old city. She knew exactly what kind of power they were and where they were located. At the same time, he also heard some gossip in the restaurant and learned some news about the major powers in the old city. This would allow him to better grasp information about the Heaven Realm before the Blood-Bone Barbarian King. In this half a month, Yiqing Luo had yet to destroy the Gu residence. He could not be bothered to instigate the people of the Bone residence. Ever since the news of Gu San being dismembered by 5 horses, it had spread throughout the entire Gu residence. Everyone knew that this seemingly gentle and weak young lady was not like what she seemed on the surface. On the contrary, he was extremely arrogant. When he was insolent, he was even scarier than their Lord Bone Sovereign. All of them didn't dare to provoke Yiqing Luo. But after all, Yiqing Luo was an outsider. After Bone Lord brought the person back, he didn't stand by Yiqing Luo's side to announce it in front of everyone. Everyone's attitude towards Yiqing Luo was merely conforming to the norm. Today is the day that the 100 Medicine House is auctioning pills. Suddenly, the snake man behind her opened his mouth in surprise, and in a few steps, he had already jumped in front of Yiqing Luo. Ren Jianming's face was full of excitement. Eldest miss, let's go. I'll take you to the 100 Medicine House to play. Aren't you an apothecary? There are many rare herbs in the 100 Medicine House. You will definitely be interested in them. Following Ren Jianming's gaze, Yiqing Luo looked towards a corner not too far away which looked extremely simple and unadorned. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were already 2 long lines. There were men and women, young and old, and it was extremely lively. Yiqing Luo searched for information about the 100 Medicine House in her mind. It was the largest medicinal hall in the entire city, and it seemed that the power behind it was one of the 4 great families. However, no one knew exactly what faction it was. In addition, the 100 Medicine House was in the business of elixirs. Profound practitioners who cultivated basically had a need for elixirs. Buying pills from the 100 Medicine House was more or less giving face to the 100 Medicine House. For a long time, no one dared to cause trouble in the 100 Medicine House. Regarding 100 Medicine House's understanding, Yiqing Luo was only limited to the surface. She really didn't know about the day of the 100 Medicine House's auction. Usually, towards those rare and precious elixirs, Yiqing Luo really wouldn't put it to heart. Chapter 4310. But now, do I have to queue up? Yiqing Luo decisively chose. Go. Who knows, she might really encounter some rare herbs. Ren Jianming's eyes lit up even more. He spread his feet and rushed towards 100 Medicine House. He threw all the big and small bags that he was carrying onto the apprentice who was guarding the entrance. Following that, he stuffed a bag of crystal stones into the apprentice's hand. Go go go, send these things to the Gu residence. That apprentice was dumbfounded and only reacted when he saw Yi Qing Luo walking over slowly. The apprentice took the crystal stones and left. Ren Jianming was relaxed as he stared at Yi Qing Luo with his burning eyes, putting on a smile which he thought was suave. Eldest miss, follow me and you don't need to queue up wherever you want to go. Saying that, he stretched out his hand towards Yi Qing Luo. Eldest miss, I'll bring you in. Yi Qing Luo shot a glance at that long queue as the corners of her lips twitched. These people should be here to collect the free medicinal herbs from 100 Medicine House? Along the way, many people were discussing. She heard it all. 100 Medicine House would set up an auction for rare herbs at the beginning of every month, and on the day of the auction, they would also distribute 1,000 sets of medicinal pills or medicinal herbs. The medicinal pills distributed were mostly refined by 100 Medicine House's apprentices. They were some low-grade healing pills or to regulate one's breath, replenish energy, etc. Of course, the medicinal pills which 100 Medicine House distributed were all tested to ensure the medicinal effect and absolute safety. Because of this, many cultivators would run over to collect their medicinal pills. After all, not every cultivator was filthy rich. There were also poor cultivators. Ren Jianming's pretentious act failed, but there was no trace of embarrassment on his face as he maintained his suave smile and winked at Yi Qing Luo. I can bring you to the VIP seats. Yi Qing Luo placed her fan on his face. Lead the way. All right. Ren Jianming was all smiles as he walked in front, leading the way for Yi Qing Luo. Ren Jianming's face was his pass. After entering 100 Medicine House, there was no need for a full body check like the other guests. The two of them directly entered the auction house set up by the 100 Medicine House. There were even apothecaries who came to welcome them. The apothecary arranged seats for them in the first row. This position was directly facing the auction stage, so the view was excellent. Exquisite snacks and tea were placed on both sides of the seats. Ren Jianming poured a cup of hot tea and passed it to Yi Qing Luo in a fawning manner. Eldest miss, are there many benefits if you follow this young master? As long as you marry this young master, you can also enjoy these benefits. Yi Qing Luo received the tea which he passed over and took a sip before rolling her eyes at him. It seemed that, since that time when she had a conflict with Gong Xiazhu on the street and poisoned Ren Jianming, Ren Jianming's attitude towards her was even more enthusiastic than before. Could it be that, this Ren Jianming was actually a masochist? He loved the feeling of being abused by her. Was that why he kept pestering her? After all, in the entire heaven realm, it seemed like only she would dare to bully him, right? Thinking of this, Yi Qing Luo's gaze towards Ren Jianming was filled with a peculiar expression. Brother Ming. Suddenly, a woman's sullen low voice was heard from behind and a slender figure rushed over in quick steps. The woman was dressed in a luxurious palace dress and her dressing was dignified and elegant. But her face was filled with anger. Chapter 43:11. This lady, wasn't she Princess Xiazhu? Yi Qing Luo looked at the lady's gaze lazily. She sighed silently in her heart. It was indeed a law that couldn't be changed. Auctions were equivalent to creating trouble. It wasn't that she was meddling in other people's affairs. But there were always some retarded people who stretched their faces out for her to slap. Gong Xiazhu clenched her luxurious sleeves and looked at Ren Jianming affectionately with her beautiful eyes that were covered with exquisite eye makeup. She pouted as she felt wronged. Brother Ming, didn't you say you don't have time when I invited you to attend 100 Medicine House's auction? Gong Xiazhu was about to go crazy from anger. Early in the morning, she opened the invitation that Yuing sent to Ren Jianming. She hoped that Ren Jianming would accompany her to represent the royal family to attend this auction. Because 100 Medicine House had always been doing good deeds. Every time they auctioned off half of the crystals, they would donate it to various places in Heaven Realm. He wanted to build shelters for all the profound practitioners, give them a place to stay, and give them a place to cultivate. The royal family naturally came over to express their gratitude. But Ren Jianming used the excuse that he didn't have time to reject her invitation. But when he came here, she saw Ren Jianming attentively serving tea to Yi Qing Luo and even gave a fawning smile. Thinking of the rumors that had spread throughout the old city these few days, Gong Xiaozhu gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. She couldn't wait to chop Yi Qing Luo into pieces. Her brother Ming should be high up, like a celestial being. That slut from Gu residence actually gave brother Ming a hard time. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her eyes turned red. But towards her inner thoughts, Ren Jianming apparently had no intention to understand. As his gaze swept over her, his expression became a little more indifferent. His tone of voice was also very indifferent. That's right. I really don't have the time to accompany the eldest Mississippi brother Ming. Gong Xiaozhu's face turned pale as she stared at him in disbelief. She didn't believe that Ren Jianming didn't know about her feelings towards him. But he still hurt her heart. It must be that slut from Gu residence who forced him to do so. Gong Xiaozhu bit her lower lip as her hands curled into fists. In the end, he angrily flung his sleeves and sat next to Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming did not care about Gong Xiaozhu's existence. Following that, he looked towards Yi Qing Luo as his face resumed his smile. Eldest young miss, if there's anything you fancy, just tell me and I'll buy it for you. Yi Qing Luo propped up her chin as her long and narrow eyes wandered between Ren Jianming and Gong Xiaozhu with a smile which didn't look like a smile. After Ren Jianming said this, Yi Shiwen's expression changed. Yi Qing Luo could obviously feel Gong Xiaozhu's venomous gaze falling onto her. Yi Qing Luo clicked her tongue. I wonder if this brat did it on purpose. He was quite good at attracting hatred. I'm afraid Gong Xiaozhu won't let this auction go easily. As expected, everything was as Yi Qing Luo had predicted. When the auction of the rare herbs began, as long as her gaze lingered on the auction item for a moment longer, Gong Xiaozhu would raise the price. And because she had taken an extra glance, Ren Jianming was determined to get the medicinal ingredients. Therefore, the two of them competed against each other. After a while, when it came to the fifth item, Yi Qing Luo took another look at it. The two of them were still competing against each other. Yi Qing Luo was always the last to make him give up bidding. Chapter 43:12. Ren Jianming couldn't take it anymore. He wanted to show off in front of the girl he liked. There would always be idiots messing around. His expression turned gloomy as he cast a cold glance at Gong Xiaozhu. Princess Xiaozhu, when are you going to stop? Gong Xiaozhu bit her lower lip, and her exquisite makeup couldn't hide her pale face. She took a deep breath, stubbornly looked into Ren Jianming's eyes, and slightly raised her chin. I like it, so it's naturally mine. You like her? What's the point of you shooting these things? Ren Jianming's tone was full of sarcasm. This was like a slap to Gong Xiaozhu's face. Her face alternated between green and white. Her poisonous eyes looked at Ren Jianming with hatred. How do you know that I'm useless? Only the first miss of the Gu residence is allowed to refine pills. Does our imperial family not have any alchemists? This was the first time Ren Jianming had seen such an expression on Gong Xiaozhu's face. In his memories, when he first met Gong Xiaozhu's eyes were filled with love when she saw him. Ren Jianming did not speak for a while. Yi Qing Luo naturally saw this scene. She curled her pink lips into a faint smile, and her meaningful gaze fell on Gong Xiaozhu. This Princess Xiaozhu, could it be that she had been corrupted? They were stimulated by Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming was even willing to glare at him. Did he hate Ren Jianming? However, this had little to do with her. She didn't care about the development between Ren Jianming and Gong Xiazhu. Yi Qing Luo retracted her vision and placed her gaze back onto the auction stage. Compared to the entanglement of love and hate between the two people beside him, those medicinal herbs were more attractive to her. At this moment, a huge stone box was placed on the auction stage. The stone box was made of excellent material. It felt as if water had penetrated through ice. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows slightly. This kind of stone box should be carved from thousand-year-old ice. The medicinal herbs needed to be placed in the millennium frigid ice. Yi Qing Luo was intrigued. Her long and narrow eyes narrowed. The shopkeeper of 100 Medicine House slowly opened the wooden box. Inside, there was a green plant that seemed to be dripping mist. The branches were roughly as thick as a finger, and there were countless fibrous roots growing out of them. They formed the shape of a mountain, densely packed and intertwined with one another. In the stone box, there were still traces of cold air floating around. In Yi Qing Luo's mind, she instantly matched this medicinal herb with one of the contents in the 100-pill refining manual. Illusionary 3-do grass. This herb. She had never seen it in the Nirvana realm. For this herb, the contents of the 100 refinement pill were very simple. High-level medicinal herbs, highly toxic, cleansing the bones, and even reviving the dead. Only one function, medicine. As for what kind of medicine it was not made clear. Facing these few lines of words, Yi Qing Luo was speechless. If not for the fact that Zhang Xian knew the contents of the 100 refinements pill, he would have believed it to be true. She even suspected that what was written on it might be nonsense. Not only was it highly toxic, but it was also a cleansing method. How could he cleanse his foundation if he was poisoned? Can a highly toxic poison be brought back to life? Wasn't poison supposed to kill with a single touch? Also, why could poison be used as a catalyst? The catalyst for the poison? Just as Yi Qing Luo was rubbing her chin, thinking about the real use of the 3-do grass. Suddenly, a voice came from the side, "This princess bids 5 million crystal stones." It was Gong Xiazhu. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways. Then met with Gong Xiazhu's provocative gaze. So, that fellow saw her staring at the 3-do grass. Thinking that she wanted it. Chapter 43:13. Gong Xiazhu felt that snatching the medicinal herb which she had her eyes on was considered as winning her. Wasn't that a little too childish? She could say that from the start till the end, the only thing which piqued her interest was only this stalk of 3-do grass. 1 million. Ren Jianming immediately raised his paddle. As he raised his paddle, he leaned his head over and looked at Yi Qing Luo. "Eldest young miss, you don't need to save money for me. I don't have many other things, but I have a lot of money. If she wants to snatch it, I will compete with her till the end." His voice wasn't soft at all. Gong Xiazhu naturally heard all of this. Whereas at this moment, there was someone else who had bid for the 3-do grass to 8 million crystal stones. Gong Xiazhu directly raised her paddle, 10 million, 11 million. Ren Jianming hurriedly raised his paddle. Earlier when Yi Qing Luo stopped those medicinal herbs, he didn't continue bidding because he could tell that Yi Qing Luo didn't have any special feelings towards those medicinal herbs. But earlier, Yi Qing Luo had obviously stared at the illusion 3-do grass for a longer period of time. Moreover, her eyes were filled with curiosity towards the 3-do grass. Something which the goddess liked. He must get it for his goddess. Gong Xiazhu pursed her lips tightly, 15 million. Ren Jianming didn't increase the bid as he just raised it by 1 million with Gong Xiazhu. The others could tell that the undercurrent between the two of them was surging. No one joined in their bidding. Until Gong Xiazhu shouted out a bid of 25 million. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and pressed Ren Jianming's hand, which was raising his paddle as she glanced at him indifferently. There's no need to bid. Ren Jianming's eyes were fixated on Yiqing Luo's hand, which was pressing on his arm as his eyes were filled with agitation. His lips curled into a huge smile. He looked a little silly. The goddess took the initiative to hold his hand. Took the initiative to hold his hand. Hold his hand. Hand. Agitated, he directly raised his other hand and shouted loudly, 26 million. The goddess took the initiative to hold his hand. How could he let the goddess down? Are you silly? Yiqing Luo released his arm as she glanced sideways at Gong Xiaozhu, who was preparing to bid. An indistinct teasing look flashed past her eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up into a sly smile. Without waiting for Ren Jianming to speak, she then said lightly, that piece of broken grass isn't worth this price. Princess Xiaozhu likes to act foolishly, so I'm just cooperating with her. She's a princess of the royal family after all, it's only right for her to do more good deeds. Ren Jianming stared blankly for a moment. His mind quickly turned. You mean to say, you stared at the medicinal herbs on purpose? Otherwise, why would I stop you? Yiqing Luo raised her brows and asked. Ren Jianming slowly put down his hand that was holding the signboard. His face was full of disappointment. It was so hard to please the goddess. Was there really nothing that could catch the eye of the goddess? Their positions were very close to Gong Xiaozhu. Whatever Yiqing Luo said, Gong Xiaozhu naturally heard it all. She stood up in anger. First young miss of the Gu residence, are you playing with me? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes rose as she looked at her lazily. How could it be teasing? Isn't Princess Xiaozhu's purpose of coming here to do good deeds for the development of the heaven realm? Gong Xiaozhu's expression sunk. The crystals that she had used in this auction had already exceeded the amount of crystals that her imperial father had given her. If there weren't enough crystals, she would have to deduct it from her princess residence. Chapter 43:14. If these losses could make Yiqing Luo suffer, she would feel comfortable spending so many crystal stones. But, Yiqing Luo had purposely tricked her into bidding for medicinal herbs at a high price. How could she be reconciled to this? They couldn't wait to skin Yiqing Luo alive. You did it on purpose. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her whole body was trembling, and her face was hideous. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. Am I holding a knife to your neck to force you to bid? Gong Xiaozhu was rendered speechless. Princess Xiaozhu. The shopkeeper of the 100 Medicine House cautiously said, If Princess Xiaozhu still wants to continue bidding, please raise your sign. Princess Xiaozhu's current behavior has affected everyone. Gong Xiaozhu's face sank. Her eyes were like torches as she glared at the manager. The shopkeeper shrunk his neck. To this arrogant and despotic Princess Xiaozhu, the entire old city kept a respectful distance from him. If he could avoid provoking them, he would try his best not to. Yiqing Luo rubbed her chin lazily. Princess Xiaozhu must remember that today, you are representing the royal family. Gong Xiaozhu wanted to cause trouble. Then it could be said that Gong Xiaozhu had received the emperor's decree, which was why she caused trouble in the 100 Medicine House. Gong Xiaozhu naturally did not dare to do so. It was fine for him to be arrogant and willful when he represented his own identity. But the reputation of the royal family was at stake. No matter how much imperial father dotes on her, he will still punish her because of this. Gong Xiaozhu returned to her seat angrily. The shopkeeper cautiously glanced at Gong Xiaozhu, then tentatively said, 26 million crystals going once. After shouting, he paused for a moment. Gong Xiaozhu didn't have much of a reaction. Only his face was steely green as he stared unblinkingly at Yiqing Luo's direction. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief and confirm it a second time. Yiqing Luo turned her head towards Gong Xiaozhu as she gave a smile which didn't look like a smile. isn't Princess Xiaozhu bidding anymore? This is the herb that I want. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her face trembled. I don't want to. These 5 words were practically squeezed out from between the gaps of her teeth, one word at a time. Previously those messy, unknown medicinal herbs, were used by Yiqing Luo in this way, to intentionally cheat her to bid for them. How dare he lie to her now? Yiqing Luo gave a regretful sigh as she shifted her gaze away. Upon seeing this, Gong Xiaozhu was even more determined in her thoughts. The third confirmation was the final word. Ren Jianming won the illusionary 3-dew grass with a price of 26 million crystal stones. When the next auction item was brought up, Yiqing Luo slowly got up. Let's go. Ren Jianming was still immersed in the depression of not being able to please the goddess. Then you can continue to stay here. Yiqing Luo didn't even turn her head back. Miss, don't you want to continue looking at the rest of the herbs? There will definitely be something that will interest you. Ren Jianming hurriedly followed. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards, the corners of her eyes curved upwards, outlining a seductive poppy. What I want, you have already bought it. What do you mean? Before he could say West, Ren Jianming seemed to have thought of something. You're talking about that illusion 3-dew grass? Yes. Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile. That's a good thing, you definitely won't lose out. This young master will give it to you. Ren Jianming's face was filled with joy as he immediately took the crystal stones and ran over to exchange for the 3-dew grass which he had bid for. Their conversation was heard clearly by Gong Xiaozhu, who was sitting by the side. Her expression instantly turned steely green. She abruptly stood up and pointed at Yiqing Luo. Her voice was filled with hatred. You. Chapter 43:15. Good. Gong Xiaozhu clenched her teeth tightly, as though this was the only way to maintain her emotions. Her malevolent face was totally unable to adjust. Yiqing Luo smiled like a flower. I'm naturally very well, but Princess Xiaozhu should have suffered a heavy loss today, so she won't be able to recover. Gong Xiaozhu's entire body was trembling slightly, as though her eyes were about to spit out fire. She couldn't suppress the hatred in her heart towards the young lady in front of her. Yiqing Luo didn't care. When she raised her eyes, she saw Ren Jianming carrying the stone box which contained the 3-dew grass, as he walked over excitedly. She walked past Gong Xiaozhu, as she headed towards the entrance of the auction venue. Ren Jianming hurriedly followed up. Not even a corner of his eyes swept towards Gong Xiaozhu. Until the 2 figures disappeared at the entrance. Gong Xiaozhu's body seemed to have lost all her energy, as she sat weakly on the seat. That sinister and twisted face that was covered in the rain was bursting with the most vicious anger. No one dared to look towards Gong Xiaozhu's direction. Among the people present, there was no lack of prominent people. Their actions weren't because they were afraid of Gong Xiaozhu, but trouble. They didn't want to get into this kind of trouble. After walking out of 100 Medicinal House, Ren Jianming followed behind Yiqing Luo, as he passed the stone box to her. Eldest miss, this is for you. Yiqing Luo didn't receive it. After a few steps, she suddenly halted her footsteps. Ren Jianming hurriedly halted his footsteps, as he smiled and leaned in front of her. The man's handsome face was filled with a fawning look, as his eyes started to sparkle. Yiqing Luo looked at him fixedly for some time. If it wasn't for the fact that her emotions were very mild, and her gaze was also very mild, Ren Jianming might even think that she was beginning to fall for his handsomeness and elegance. But her gaze, apparently wasn't sinking into it. After staring for a long time, Yiqing Luo frowned, as she asked calmly, "What do you want to do?" Ren Jianming looked at her blankly, with a puzzled look. "Say, your real motive." Yiqing Luo didn't beat around the bush. Ren Jianming scratched his head, as though he didn't understand, my real motive? What motive? If you don't say it, you won't have the chance to say it in future. Yiqing Luo didn't want to talk nonsense with him as she turned around and left. Ren Jianming's eyes sunk slightly as he speedily shifted towards Yiqing Luo, blocking her in front. There was no longer the fawning and flattering expression on his face. On his handsome face, his gaze was a little deep. Are you going to say it? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. How did you find out? Ren Jianming looked into her eyes with curiosity. I thought I acted well. Eyes. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her lips curled slightly. The way you look at me, from the first time you saw me, it's totally different. It was as if he had become another person. When Ren Jianming first met her, the way he looked at her was obviously filled with intense interest, but it was not disgusting. But the second time they met, there was obviously a slight change in him. His eyes were filled with the desire to possess her. Yes, possessive. It was a possessive desire to let her belong to him alone. But there was no love in this possessiveness. After that, Ren Jianming began to pester her. As though he really fell deeply in love with her. He was wholeheartedly thinking of marrying her. So he kept pestering her and followed behind her. Fawning, acting dumb. Yiqing Luo didn't believe that just a few meetings could make a man be dead set on her, and even change because of her. She didn't believe it. Chapter 43:16. Ren Jianming looked at her silently. After a long time, his chest shook as he laughed out loud, ha ha ha. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence, I realized that I'm really liking you more and more. As he said that, his body suddenly got closer to Yiqing Luo. That handsome face was magnified in Yiqing Luo's pupils from a close distance. He grinned as his smile was filled with some evilness. Just like that, he got close to her ear as he muttered softly, "This sentence is from my heart." The unfamiliar man's breath seeped into her nostrils. Yiqing Luo frowned as she speedily took a step back, leaving the encirclement of Ren Jianming's masculine breath. She didn't like her body to be tainted with any man other than a Xian scent. She couldn't stand any man other than a Xian scent. Yiqing Luo's action made Ren Jianming spread his arms wide as he laughed, "Eldest young miss, be my Ren family's mistress. As long as you're willing. In this heaven realm, whatever you want, I can do it for you." The gaze which he stared at Yiqing Luo was filled with greed towards his prey. This was Ren Jianming's real face. Yiqing Luo met his overbearing gaze, but there wasn't any emotion on her face. Then do you know what I want? Gu residence? Ren family? Or Lord of Heaven realm? Ren Jianming spat out every single word, which was enough to make most cultivators go crazy. His gaze was locked onto Yiqing Luo's face, not wanting to miss any change in her emotions. But on that young lady's exquisite face, there wasn't any hint of greed or yearning. That pair of eyes which were as bright as stars, was filled with calmness and indifference. Like nothing could arouse her interest. After Ren Jianming's words landed, the atmosphere froze for a moment. The two of them didn't speak again. After a moment of silence, a young lady's calm voice rang, "Before discussing terms with me, second young master Ren had better investigate clearly what I want." Her pink lips curled slightly, curving into ridicule and disdain. Tightly, she turned around and left. Yiqing Luo had just taken a few steps when Ren Jianming's voice was heard from behind, "Eldest young miss, I only want you to help me save someone. As long as you're willing, whatever you want, I can give it to you." Yiqing Luo stopped in her tracks and turned around to look at him. "Save people? If even you, second young master Ren, can't save someone, then I, a good-for-nothing with no Xian energy, can't even save him. Only you can." Ren Jianming's eyes were resolute as he said, "If it wasn't for the fact that I had no other choice, I wouldn't have taken the risk to find someone I don't even know. Yiqing Luo raised her brows, the smile on her lips was very casual. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'm good at killing people, but I really don't know how to save people. With that, she left without hesitation. Ren Jianming didn't follow them. The Ren family had such a complicated relationship and Yiqing Luo didn't want to be dragged into it to turn into a big drama. She was someone that Ren Jianming wanted to save. Must be a troublesome person. She did not hear Gu Yun use the word save when it came to the Ren family or anyone's situation. However, Ren Jianming would rather look for a stranger like her. He was also unwilling to seek help from the Ren family. TSK. Just the thought of it was troublesome. Yiqing Luo pouted her lips. She didn't want to get involved in this mess. Chapter 43:17. Eldest young miss, why? Is second young master Ren not around today? Recently, Ren Jianming had been sticking to her eldest young miss's side shamelessly and she couldn't chase him away. Today he actually let eldest young miss come back alone. Could it be that the both of them had a quarrel? Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and hooked Gu Yun's shoulder as she leaned close to her and gave a naughty smile. Little Gu Yun. You seem to value second young master Ren very much. Are you disappointed that you didn't see him today? Gu Yun's body stiffened as her face revealed a shocked expression, as her facial features revealed resistance. Eldest young miss, this joke is not funny. How could I possibly value that kind of silk pants? She hurriedly explained, I just felt strange and asked out of curiosity. I absolutely have no improper thoughts towards second young master Ren. Looking at the lady's anxious and shy look, Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. She pinched Gu Yun's face and said with a smile, I'm just joking. That's second young master Ren. I've already told him clearly. If there's nothing wrong with his brain, he probably won't bother me anymore. Hence, the next morning, Yiqing Luo finished washing up and followed Gu Yun to the main hall for breakfast. She saw Ren. Something wrong with his brain. Jian Ming. Yiqing Luo, this fellow was really a lingering spirit. What on earth was he trying to do? She seemed to have made it very clear yesterday, right? Still not willing to give up. Master Ren, why are you here again? Gu Yun stood in front of Yiqing Luo, guarding against Ren Jianming's approach like a wolf. Ren Jianming's eyes were burning as he stared at Yiqing Luo, as his eyes were filled with smiles. Eldest young miss is my fiancée, why can't I come to see her? Master Ren, please conduct yourself with dignity. Gu Yun frowned slightly. Master Ren's actions and words have already affected eldest young Mississippi. Ren Jianming's gaze went past Gu Yun and fell onto Yiqing Luo. His smile was the same as the flattery and fawning over the past few days. His eyes were filled with deep affection towards Yiqing Luo. Eldest young miss, where do you want to go today? I'll accompany you. Yiqing Luo lifted her eyes slightly and met Ren Jianming's eyes. She stretched out her hand and placed it on Gu Yun's shoulder. You can leave first. Gu Yun looked at Yiqing Luo worriedly and looked at Ren Jianming vigilantly. Didn't First Mistress say yesterday that young Master Ren wouldn't bother her anymore? Something must have happened between young Master Ren and eldest miss for her to say that. But now, young Master Ren was pestering eldest miss again. Gu Yun seriously suspected that young Master Ren wanted to harm young miss. Don't worry, there's still Gui around. Yiqing Luo knew what Gu Yun was worried about as she patted her shoulder. This girl that the barbaric Blood-Bone King had arranged for her, his wariness and hostility towards Ren Jianming were very strong. It was unknown just what Ren Jianming had done in the Gu residence previously. Gu Yun hesitated for a moment. Under Yiqing Luo's insistence, he left the house first. Yiqing Luo walked directly to the dining table and sat down, minding her own business as she started to eat her breakfast. He didn't even spare Ren Jianming a glance. Ren Jianming followed Yi Qing Luo and sat beside her. He originally thought that Yi Qing Luo would ask Gu Yun to leave to have a good talk with him. But after Gu Yun left, Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she couldn't see him at all. Chapter 43:18. Eldest young miss, I hope you can consider my suggestion last night. His tone was somewhat solemn. The expression on his face turned serious in an instant. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes and looked at the hand on her arm. Second young Master Ren, have you forgotten not to touch me casually? Her voice just fell. Ren Jianming's hand suddenly felt like it was pricked by a needle. He retracted his hand abruptly. His entire palm had already turned jet black. The prickling pain of the needle spread through his palm. His hand trembled in pain and his brows knitted tightly. Yi Qing Luo continued to eat her breakfast without any change in expression. Eldest young miss, I am serious. Ren Jianming was panting as he spoke. He couldn't help sucking in cold air due to the piercing pain in his palm. But he still looked at Yi Qing Luo and continued, you are a pharmacist, only you. Only you can save him. No matter what Ren Jianming said. Yi Qing Luo ate her food calmly. Until she was full and put down her chopsticks, she raised her head lightly. Second young Master Ren, I am a pharmacist, but that doesn't mean I can save people. Looking at the entire heaven realm, it's easy to find a high-level pharmacist with your family's power. Yes. I really don't know if you can save him. Ren Jianming lowered his head and pursed his thin lips, but, this is the only chance. Ren Jianming suddenly stood up and fixed his eyes on Yi Qing Luo. I can't beat the grass and alert the snake, I don't trust anyone in heaven realm, only you. His hands, slowly clenched into fists. One by one, he squeezed tightly. As if he had completely ignored his poisoned right hand. You don't trust the people in heaven realm, but trust an outsider like me? Yi Qing Luo snorted lightly, aren't you afraid that I am the most dangerous person? Afraid? Ren Jianming was very honest, but I want to take a gamble, betting on you, is my only chance. Yi Qing Luo's words had just opened her mouth. Only a plop sound was heard. Ren Jianming knelt down heavily. He knelt in front of Yi Qing Luo, with an unprecedented serious expression on his face. Eldest young miss, as a sign of sincerity, I can tell you some things that I can tell you. Yi Qing Luo stood up, avoiding the direction where Ren Jianming was kneeling. Her expression was still very indifferent. Her gaze on Ren Jianming was so indifferent that no one could tell what she was thinking. Don't tell me, I don't want to know. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, it's just an accident that I'm here, and I don't intend to implicate too many complicated things. Ren Jianming did not dare to look for a pharmacist in the heaven realm. He did not dare to spread the news of the person he had saved. That person's identity in the heaven realm must be very complicated. It was also very likely that it involved the entire heaven realm. She still had self-awareness. She knew that with her strength in the heaven realm, she wouldn't be able to make a big splash. Not to mention now, she who had lost her profound energy. That was under the condition of recovering profound strength. She also didn't want to cause any complicated disputes and battles in the heaven realm. It was too troublesome. It was also too dangerous. Yi Qing Luo answered very decisively, without any hesitation, Second young Master Ren, you should go back. His footsteps had just stepped over the threshold. Chapter 43:19. This low growl successfully stopped Yi Qing Luo's footsteps. She turned around and looked at Ren Jianming. What do you mean? Half a month later, on the wind cloud list, someone will take action and invade the heaven realm. Ren Jianming was still kneeling on the ground. His voice was filled with suppressed pain. Only by saving that person, can heaven be saved. How did you know that there would be a calamity in the heaven realm? Yi Qing Luo's gaze shot straight towards Ren Jianming, containing some sharpness. Ren Jianming pursed his lips. As for the reason, I cannot tell you right now. However, everything I have said is the truth. The heaven realm has been targeted by a mysterious force. The other party will use the opportunity of the wind cloud list to create chaos, for some unknown reason, the moment Ren Jianming mentioned the mysterious force. Yi Qing Luo's first reaction was to think of 3 words: dark, dark, palace. Only the rats from the dark palace were hiding in the dark, that was why they were always looking for opportunities to create chaos. In the Nirvana realm. It was the same in the land. Now, was the other party eyeing the heaven realm? If the mysterious force that Ren Jianming was talking about was really the Palace of Darkness. This step-by-step operation, the true goal of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness was, to control the 3 realms. How ambitious. No, that's not right. If the power of the secluded Darkness Palace had already infiltrated into the heaven realm. That, with how stubborn the Palace of Gloomy Shadows was towards her. After learning of her existence. The Palace of Gloomy Darkness should have come looking for them. Especially now, when she didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. However, she had been wandering in the heaven realm for half a month. He did not see any traces of the Dark Abyss Palace. Eldest young miss, even if it's not for the heaven realm, you wouldn't be willing to see the Gu residence fall, right? Seeing Yi Qing Luo not speaking for a long time, Ren Jianming started to play the emotional card. To tell the truth, I really don't care if the bone residence falls or not. Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms as she walked back into the room. She returned to her seat and sat down. Who is the person you want me to save? Why do you say that only by saving that person can the heaven realm be saved? She had to confirm it first. Was that mysterious force on the side of the Dark Palace? Seeing Yi Qing Luo walking back and returning to her seat, Ren Jianming's face revealed an excited smile. But when he heard Yi Qing Luo's question, his smile slowly froze. His expression was somewhat complicated. Yi Qing Luo could tell that he was conflicted. He wanted her to save that man. But subconsciously, he couldn't believe her. Yi Qing Luo wasn't in a hurry to interrogate him. You want me to save someone, but you want me to not even know who I want to save? The expression on Ren Jianming's face changed slightly. He clenched his fists again, struggling internally. After some time, as though he had finally made up his mind, he abruptly raised his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo, saying word by word, I hope that the person you save, is Miss Ren. Young Master Ren is here. Suddenly, a servant's voice came from outside. Miss Ren? Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. Ren Jianying. Why was she here? Just as Ren Jianying was guided by the servants, they arrived at the room which Yi Qing Luo was in. Ren Jianming, who was kneeling on the ground, moved, and in a blink of an eye, he sat on the seat opposite Yi Qing Luo. The expression on his face was no longer solemn and serious. But there was a sliver of what he thought to be elegant and suave, an incomparably confident smile. His entire imposing manner became extremely relaxed. Chapter 43:20. Ren Jianying had already walked in. Her gaze fell onto Ren Jianming. Her penetrating gaze swept past Yi Qing Luo and Ren Jianming. As though she was trying to confirm something. Elder sister, why are you here? Ren Jianming stood up as his face was filled with disdain. Ren Jianying slowly walked towards him as her beautiful face revealed a hint of coldness. Jianming, have you caused enough trouble these few days? Ren Jianming pushed away Ren Jianying's hand with a mischievous look and bypassed her. What trouble did I cause? You're the second young master of the Ren family, following behind a woman all day long. Where's your sense of propriety? Ren Jianying intentionally shot a glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction as she spoke. That gaze seemed to be saying that Yi Qing Luo was a femme fatale. Ren Jianming's expression sunk instantly. His tall body blocked in front of Yiqing Luo, blocking Ren Jianying's gaze. He revealed an unhappy expression. Elder sister, eldest miss is my fiancée, I like eldest miss, don't always go against her. What fiancé? Nothing has even been decided yet. Ren Jianying sneered and continued in a resentful tone, in the entire old city, there are countless women who want to marry you. Why do you need to be so persistent with a woman who doesn't even put you in her heart? Those people are not eldest Mississippi. Ren Jianming stubbornly raised his chin, I only want eldest miss. You. Ren Jianying was slightly flustered as she flicked her sleeves and retreated away from Ren Jianming. Good. Now I can't control you anymore. Alright, if you want to be with this woman, then don't go back to the Ren family. Elder sister. Ren Jianming was flustered. Since young, you've always liked to control me. Now, even if I like someone, you want to control me too? Ren Jianying's expression was cold as she didn't have any intention of being moved. This woman isn't suitable for you, either follow me back to the Ren family, or you can live with this woman. I want to see, after losing the identity of the Ren family's second young master, if she will still allow you to pester her. Big sister, why do you have to force me? Ren Jianming was so angry that his whole body was trembling. His face was livid, and his eyes were red. It was as if the emotions that had been suppressed for a long time were on the verge of exploding at this moment. He looked like a rebellious child who was being forced by his elders. Ren Jianying's expression did not change. She looked at Ren Jianming quietly with her beautiful eyes. There seemed to be no room for discussion. Ren Jianming pursed his lips tightly, and his eyes were red. He glared at Ren Jianying with resentment and unwillingness, unwilling to compromise. The siblings seemed to be at loggerheads. No one was willing to be the first to speak and take half a step back. Yiqing Luo's gaze wandered between the two of them for a moment. Her crimson lips curled up slightly. Miss Ren's desire to control her own brother is really strong. Could it be that my joke that day is really true? Miss Ren wants to marry your own brother, so you're doing everything possible to control him so that he only belongs to you? She paused and covered her mouth in surprise. She looked Ren Jianying up and down in shock. I didn't expect Miss Ren to be such a person. You're so scary. Oh, you're ghost. Ren Jianying was so infuriated by Yiqing Luo's shocking words that her expression changed. Chapter 43-21. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Trample? Young Miss Ren, I don't like what you're saying. Yiqing Luo slowly stood up. The red flowing cloud-long dress followed her movements and fluttered like a dancing butterfly's wings. I didn't cheat him of his feelings nor his looks. Eldest Miss Ren, where did you see me trampling on him? As she stood up, his aura started to spread out. When she spoke, her long and narrow eyes were like poppies blooming, emitting a suffocating charm. Ren Jianying's heart tightened. The expression on his face was constantly changing. I gave you a chance. Ren Jianying gritted her teeth. It's you who rejected to be with Jianming. Since you rejected, why not be more straightforward? Yiqing Luo sneered, don't you know how clingy your brother is? Ren Jianying turned cold, eldest miss of the Gu family, it's not your turn to interfere in our Ren family's matters. Saying that, she turned around and fixed her gaze on Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming, you're the pride of the Ren family, the future successor of the Ren family. I only ask you one thing. Are you coming back to the Ren family with me? Eldest sister. Ren Jianming's face flushed red. As though the two ladies' conversation had caused all the anger he had suppressed in his heart to burst out. I don't want to be the successor of the Ren family. I don't want to be the pride of the Ren family. If I can't even choose the girl I like as the second young master of the Ren family, then what's the use of this identity? I will let you see my determination. As long as you don't accept eldest miss, I will not return to the Ren family. Ren Jianming's every word sounded like a hysterical roar and a venting of anger. His fists were clenched tightly. The veins on the back of his hands and joints were popping out. Ren Jianming. Ren Jianying didn't expect Ren Jianming to suddenly explode. That exquisite and beautiful face revealed an unbelievable anger. You're going to give up everything in the Ren family for this woman? You forced me to do this. Ren Jianming's chest heaved. Good, good. Ren Jianying seemed to be very angry. Her face was pale, and she pointed at Ren Jianming with a trembling finger. I'd like to see if a woman like you will still want you after losing the protection of the Ren family. Her gaze, turned towards Yiqing Luo venomously. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence is really capable. His words fell. She flicked her sleeves and strode towards the door. When she reached the door, she stopped but did not turn around. A sinister voice entered their ears. Ren Jianming, you will regret this. This continued until Ren Jianying's aura completely disappeared from the Bone residence. Ren Jianming, whose emotions were tense, face flushed, and eyes bloodshot, slumped into the chair as if he had collapsed. Yiqing Luo strolled over and raised her slender brows as she looked at him with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Now that you're not the second young master of the Ren family, what are you going to use to convince me to help you? This princess was chased out of the house because of you. Ren Jianming rubbed his face to make his expression revert back to normal. If eldest miss doesn't take me in, then I'll really be a homeless child. Because of me? Chapter 43-22. Ren Jianming grabbed a teacup and poured himself a cup of tea to drink. After moistening his throat, he said, "You've seen through me again? It seems like I can't hide anything from you." He straightened his face and placed both hands on the table as he looked at Yiqing Luo solemnly. "I indeed want to leave the Ren family." Yiqing Luo used her slender fingers to caress her chin, as though she had seen through everything. "Looks like the person you're really guarding against is your eldest sister." Ren Jianming's hedonistic look was obviously intentionally displayed in front of Ren Jianying. "Thank you for not exposing me earlier." Ren Jianming took a deep breath. "If I go back with her this time, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to leave the Ren family anymore." Yiqing Luo asked, "Ren Jianying wants the inheritance rights?" She thought back to the news that Gu Yun had mentioned to her about the Ren family. The current Ren family's power holder was actually Ren Jianying. Obviously, there was a talented successor like Ren Jianming around. But the power holder was still Ren Jianying. "What are you afraid of?" Yiqing Luo asked again. This was the only explanation. If it wasn't for fear. Based on Ren Jianming's reputation and the legitimate Ren family's bloodline, it shouldn't be Ren Jianying's turn to make the decision. But Ren Jianming had to pretend to be a hedonistic in front of Ren Jianying and had no interest in power, only wanting to lead a befuddled life, wandering around. This was obviously to hide from Ren Jianying. Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, Ren Jianming lowered his head and didn't reply. The expression on his face was unprecedentedly grave and solemn. In his heart, he was in a dilemma, hesitating whether to tell Yiqing Luo everything. After a long time, his fingers clenched tightly. That hand which was dyed black from the poison also felt a sharp pain because of this action. He pursed his lips and tightened his grip, as though he had made the final decision. He raised his head and looked at Yiqing Luo without blinking. "Yes, I'm afraid of her. Do you still remember what I said earlier? There will be a huge calamity in the heaven realm in half a month's time?" The expression on Yiqing Luo's face was filled with a deep sense of ridicule. "Surely you're not saying that this matter has something to do with Ren Jianying?" "Yes." Ren Jianming was already used to Yiqing Luo's ability to see through one's heart. He continued, "I've been by your side all this time, which has aroused her suspicions. Just now, she came to test me. Of course, there's another motive. It's almost time for the excellence list. She wants to trap me in the Ren family to prevent me from disrupting her plans. Yi Qing Luo's fingers touched her chin, the mysterious force you mentioned. Is it your eldest sister? No. Ren Jianming looked up. Big sister has cooperated with that mysterious force. Their goal is to rebuild a realm that belongs to her, Ren Jianying, after destroying Heaven Realm. She wanted to become the one and only ruler of the Heaven Realm. How did you know? I accidentally overheard it. If that mysterious force is really as powerful as you said and can destroy Heaven Realm, how could you not detect it when you were eavesdropping? Yi Qing Luo expressed her doubts. Ren Jianming's face turned slightly red. At that time, Big Sister was in the room with that force's representative, doing that kind of thing, so she didn't notice me. Looking at Ren Jianming's expression, she knew. Chapter 43-23. Yi Qing Luo connected everything that Ren Jianming said into a line. She crossed her arms and leaned back against the table, tilting her head to look at him. How do you prove what you said? Ren Jianming suddenly raised his head and coincidentally met with the young lady's smiling eyes. His heart inexplicably skipped a beat. When he opened his mouth to speak, his voice unconsciously stuttered. What I said is all true. I now want to beg you, don't dare to lie. Yi Qing Luo slowly lowered her body. Somewhat condescending aura. Ren Jianming only felt his heart getting more and more nervous. In his eyes, the young girl's alluring and beautiful face was reflected. All of a sudden, he seemed to be startled. He stood up abruptly, avoiding eye contact with Yi Qing Luo. He held the back of the chair and quickly turned around, with his back facing Yi Qing Luo. Since I was 5 years old, I discovered that eldest sister is very strange. Yi Qing Luo pulled a chair over and sat down. I was 5 years old, she was only 7 years old. But she seemed to know a lot of things that even father didn't know. In front of the elders, she appeared to be very obedient, but behind the scenes, she was using another identity, secretly developing her own power. She seemed to be a natural-born businesswoman, able to grasp any business opportunities, like she could predict the future. In just a few years, she had already controlled the entire old city, and even half of the main city's trade routes in Heaven Realm. Then, when she was 14 years old, she stretched her hands to the Ren family. She was able to accurately know the internal affairs of the various large families, and took precautions in advance. She also knew the secrets of the Ren family's various elders, and could accurately catch all those who had ill intentions towards the Ren family. Step by step, she controlled the Ren family's lifeline, and became the person behind the Ren family. Now, her target has already set the entire Heaven Realm. Speaking of this, Ren Jianming's body trembled slightly. The fingers on the back of the chair almost scratched the back of the chair. He suddenly turned around, a trace of madness flashed in his eyes. Eldest miss, do you think my eldest sister has the ability to predict the future? Only with foresight could Ren Jianying advance step by step and reach her current position. Otherwise, Ren Jianming wouldn't be able to understand. How on earth did Ren Jianying manage to take the most appropriate precautions every time an incident happened? Foresight? I'm afraid not. Yi Qing Luo touched her pink lips with interest. What is that? Ren Jianming asked anxiously. Yi Qing Luo didn't reply, but instead her lips curled into an arc as she retorted with a question. When did you start to conceal your true thoughts? From when I was 8 years old. Ren Jianming's eyes darkened. I saw with my own eyes, when she was only 10 years old, she killed her uncle because he rejected her proposal. Children of their birth. Compared to other children, he matured much earlier. From a young age, they would accept the lifestyle of a large family. From then on, Ren Jianming knew it. He was extremely talented. He was appointed as the successor of the Ren family. One day, he would become a stepping stone for his elder sister. Therefore, he began to learn how to disguise himself. He began to befriend a bunch of scoundrels and turned himself into a man of luxury. Chapter 43-24. He had successfully molded himself into a hedonistic son of a rich family, and successfully numbed Ren Jianying. From then onwards, Ren Jianying's attitude towards him was obviously different. Ren Jianying no longer looked at him coldly. It was no longer directed at him. But she really treated him like a younger brother and doted on him. But this kind of doting was established in another way. Ren Jianying was using her own way to condone his misdeeds, suppressing all the protesting voices in the family. She allowed him to completely ruin her reputation. Then, as a good sister, she came forward to clean up the mess. Later on, the entire old city knew about it. There was a little overlord in the Ren family. A genius overlord. Except for those scoundrel friends of his. Everyone who saw his appearance would avoid him with a headache, not willing to have any interaction with him. Speaking of this, Ren Jianming's body started to tremble slightly. He shut his eyes tightly, suppressing all the emotions in his heart. Finally, he opened his eyes and looked at Yiqing Luo with a resolute gaze. "Eldest miss, I really hope you can help me, help the Ren family, help Heaven Realm." Yiqing Luo turned her head, her expression was indifferent. "I don't have that ability." "Save him. As long as he wakes up, he will definitely be able to control eldest sister." Ren Jianming clenched his fists tightly, his tone was filled with unwavering determination. If you really can't save him, it's alright, at least we have tried. I will consider it." Yiqing Luo straightened her body and smiled slightly. "Since you have left the Ren family, then stay in the Gu residence." Ren Jianming's eyes suddenly lit up. Let him stay. Did that mean that she had already relented? She would help? He couldn't hide the excitement on his face. His eyes were fixated on the young lady's gorgeous face, looking at the smile on the young lady's lips. His lips uncontrollably curled upwards. He hadn't had time to express his gratitude and touched. Yiqing Luo looked at the door and raised her voice. "Gu Yun." Gu Yun quickly walked in. When she saw Ren Jianming, she stared at him in disgust. "Arrange a guest room for second young master Ren, he will be staying here for a period of time," Yiqing Luo instructed. Gu Yunmiao was stunned and her eyes widened. "Eldest miss, you let this hedonistic son live in the Gu residence? Didn't First Mistress say yesterday that she had made things clear with second young master Ren and that they would never see each other again? Today, it had developed into, were they going to live together? The first miss actually agreed to live under the same roof as the playboy? Was eldest miss deceived? Countless thoughts flashed through Gu Yun's mind. Yiqing Luo poked her head. "What nonsense are you thinking about? I was just being kind, seeing that he was homeless, I took him in for a few days." Gu Yun looked at Ren Jianming with a vigilant expression. "Eldest miss, that kind of hedonistic playboy is the most scheming. Don't be fooled by him." Yiqing Luo seemed to have smelled something important as a trace of ridicule surfaced in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hand and circled it around Gu Yun's neck. She lowered her voice and moved closer to Gu Yun's ear as she laughed softly. "Little Yun, don't tell me you've been cheated by him?" Gu Yun's face flushed red in an instant. I didn't. How could I possibly be cheated by a hedonistic playboy? I'm worried about you." His negative tone sounded like he was full of energy. But that flushed red face. Chapter 43-25. No wonder every time Gu Yun saw Ren Jianming, she would have that expression. "Alright, be good. Now he needs my help, he won't dare to lie to you." Yiqing Luo rubbed Gu Yun's head. Gu Yun pursed her lips and stared fiercely at Ren Jianming. Let's go, I'll bring you over. Ren Jianming didn't hear the whispers between the two. Hearing Gu Yun's shout, he then reacted. He hurriedly walked to Gu Yun's side. Just as he was about to leave with Gu Yun, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and looked at Yi Qing Luo solemnly. Eldest young miss, thank you. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips at him as she casually waved her hand. Ren Jianming wanted to say something but Gu Yun tugged at him. Are you leaving or not? Ren Jianming touched his nose as he leaned forward and put his head in front of Gu Yun. I say, little lass, why are you so hostile towards me? Gu Yun was startled by the sudden appearance of a head and took 2 steps back. After her gaze fell onto Ren Jianming's face, her eyes flickered for a moment. Immediately, she pursed her lips. I don't dare. How don't you dare? I think you're very daring. Ren Jianming didn't have the intention to let her off as he followed behind her and asked, how did I provoke you? Quickly tell me. Their voices gradually got further away. Yi Qing Luo leaned against the table and stood for a while before walking out of the main door. Her mind kept repeating those words that Ren Jianming said. Everything was strung together towards Ren Jianming's words. She already believed half of it. After all, Ren Jianming had no need to lie to her about such things. That person that Ren Jianming mentioned, the only person who could stop Ren Jianming, the person who needed her to save, who was it? She was getting more and more curious. You really want to agree to help him? Qi Yan drilled in from the window, fluttered his wings and landed into Yi Qing Luo's arms. Yi Qing Luo lowered her head and met Qi Yan's eyes. You don't want me to help him? This sacred beast doesn't like him at all. Qi Yan snorted. The way he looks at you is extremely disgusting. Speaking of this, Red Flame seemed a little awkward. His little body squirmed a few times in her arms. Only then did he raise his chin up high. With an arrogant look, he said, as one of the 4 great heavenly clans of the Heaven Realm, the Ren clan is too complicated. If you were to interfere, you would definitely not be able to leave in a short period of time. Furthermore, you would attract a lot of trouble. After saying that, he probably felt that his words seemed to be overly worried about Yi Qing Luo. He then added, this holy beast is not concerned about you. This holy beast only feels that you're a good-for-nothing now. If you cause a lot of trouble, in the end, I'll be the one to clean up the mess. Listening to the little fellow's tsundere words, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laughed as her slender fingers tapped on its little head. I might not agree to help him. I need to ascertain if that mysterious powerhouse, the powerhouse which Ren Jianming is working with, is related to the secluded palace. Qi Yan's red eyes turned. Then, what if it's really related to the Palace of Darkness? Yi Qing Luo pondered for a moment. Then we can only choose to intervene. Of course, I have to destroy the Palace of Darkness. Most importantly, if the other party was really the Palace of Darkness, the other party might not let her off so easily. Chapter 43-26. Hey! Qi Yan stared at her. Do you know what you're saying or not? Based on your current situation, you'll die before you even reach secluded palace. Yi Qing Luo propped Qi Yan up and placed him next to her as she smiled. Are you concerned about me? Qi Yan's little wings moved as his little head turned unconsciously, not looking into Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Following that, he gave an imposing harumph. This sacred beast doesn't care about you. This sacred beast is only worried that you're dead. This sacred beast has even signed a contract with you. Looking at this little fellow's stubborn look, the smile in Yi Qing Luo's eyes deepened. She rubbed Qi Yan's head hard. Don't worry, I'm not an idiot, why would I risk my life? She put down Qi Yan and the expression on her face became extremely gentle. I'm no longer alone. I'm shouldering so many people's hopes, how could I possibly let myself fall? She still needed to return to Ah Xian's side alive. She still needed to live and reunite with her brothers in the world group. How could she bear to mess around? Qi Yan stared blankly at Yi Qing Luo's gentle face as his red eyes blinked. After some time, he turned his head away arrogantly as he gave a soft harumph, "You know your limits. This sacred beast doesn't want master to die so quickly." Yi Qing Luo. Couldn't he say something more auspicious? The following days, Ren Jianming stayed in the Gu residence without any psychological burden. Moreover, he stayed in a natural and casual manner. And Ren Jianming wanted to put on a good show, plus he pestered Yi Qing Luo to agree to his request. Ren Jianming seemed to be sticking to Yi Qing Luo's side except at night. Initially, Gu Yi sensed that there were Ren family spies circling around the Gu residence. Yi Qing Luo made Gu Yi pretend not to have discovered anything. Ren family spies observed for 2 days. They saw Ren Jianming sticking to Yi Qing Luo all the time, going in and out together. He was thrown out of the courtyard by Yi Qing Luo several times. Those spies then retreated. But Ren Jianming didn't let his guard down because of this. Because the enemy he was facing wasn't anyone else. Instead, it was his only elder sister, who shared the same father and mother, the closest bloodline to him, and who had the ability to foresee. Lin Quibble. Yi Qing Luo had asked Gu Yun to secretly investigate some of the Ren family's secrets. He was also investigating whether or not there was any aura from the Dark Nether Palace in the old city. As long as the Palace of Gloomy Darkness came, there would definitely be some clues left behind. Just like that, another 3 days passed. There were only 10 days left before the opening of the Excellence list. Ren Jianming became more anxious. The closer it was to the ranking list, this meant that danger was about to descend. He increased the speed, urging Yi Qing Luo to save him. After being harassed for an entire day, Yi Qing Luo's ears were about to grow calluses, so she directly asked Gu Yi to throw him out. The second time, Yi Qing Luo really didn't see Ren Jianming at all. After being pestered for several days, Yi Qing Luo was still not used to it. Until she finished her breakfast. Ren Jianming was nowhere to be seen. When did Ren Jianming become so obedient? Did he change his personality? With Ren Jianming's personality, he wouldn't listen so easily, right? Yi Qing Luo suddenly thought of something as her expression congealed. She suddenly stood up. Gu Yun, why didn't Ren Jianming come over today? Chapter 43-27. He left the residence in a hurry early in the morning. When I asked him where he was going, he didn't say. Gu Yun continued. Left the residence in a hurry? Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed as a deep meaning flashed past her eyes. I'm going out for a while. Eldest young miss, are you going to look for Master Ren? Gu Yun frowned. I know, I shouldn't interfere with Master's thoughts, but I still have to say, the Ren family's relationship is too complicated. Now that Bone Lord is not in the residence, we shouldn't have any conflict with the Ren family. She paused as her hands clenched tightly. Eldest young miss, I'm worried. Worried that you and Master Ren are too close, and met with the Ren family. Gu Yun had been helping her to investigate the Ren family's matters recently. Towards Ren Jianying's ambition. She naturally could tell. Ren Jianying wanted the Ren family. The biggest thorn in her side was Ren Jianming. Ren Jianying would definitely deal with Ren Jianming. Yi Qing Luo patted Gu Yun's shoulder. I know what you mean, don't worry. I assure you, Ren Jianying currently absolutely won't dare to touch me. If Ren Jianying wanted to start a war during the ranking list, she would absolutely not cause any trouble at this juncture. If she really touched her, that would be touching the Gu residence. The Gu residence naturally wouldn't let the Ren family off so easily. How would Ren Jianying allow such a thing to happen? Eldest young miss. Gu Yun was very clear that she couldn't persuade eldest young miss as she helplessly sighed, then bring a few more secret guards to protect you in the dark. Gu Yi is enough. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. After walking out of the Gu residence, Yi Qing Luo's first goal was to head towards the Ren family. To make Ren Jianming leave the Gu residence in a hurry early in the morning. Only the Ren family's matters could make him like this. Ren Jianming might have returned to the Ren family before she could confirm whether Ren Jianming's collaboration was with the secluded Darkness Palace. This Ren Jianming couldn't be allowed to return to the Ren family. Just as she walked to the small alley near the Ren family, she heard a fighting sound coming from the small alley. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of collisions were extremely clear in this alley. Yi Qing Luo took a look. At the end of the alley, about a dozen people formed a circle and were punching and kicking the person on the ground. These people did not release any profound strength. It was a real hand-to-hand fight. No, it should be called a real beating. Because the people who were trapped on the ground couldn't resist at all. Yi Qing Luo only took a glance. He walked straight into the alley. Ha ha ha, aren't you the high and mighty second young master of the Ren family? Why are you so cowardly? Stand up. Aren't you usually very arrogant? Didn't you step on me and say that I'm just a piece of trash who licks your shoes? What? Now you want to lick my shoes? Second young master of the Ren clan. How can the dignified second young master of the Ren clan be so pitiful? Ha ha ha. Second young master Ren, who has been chased out of the Ren clan, what else can he do? Their arrogant words were full of ridicule. While laughing and scolding, he also used his legs to kick and hit hard. Ren family. Second young master? Ren Jianming? Those people scolding successfully stopped Yi Qing Luo's footsteps. She stopped beside the 10 over people and looked at the person who was surrounded in the middle. Little beauty, what are you looking at? Don't be a busybody. If you hurt your pretty little face, the few of us will feel heartache. Chapter 43-28. The man who was surrounded by 10 over people suddenly stood up and knocked against those people with force. The person you want to target is me. Don't implicate the innocent. Those 10 over people were knocked back a few steps. The few of them held on to the places where they were knocked as the expressions on their faces turned extremely sinister. One of them strode over and grabbed that man's collar as he gave a heavy punch on that man's abdomen. Second young master Ren, who do you think you are now? You can't even take care of yourself and you still want to take care of others? Innocent? Second young master Ren also knows how to use the word innocent. How did you treat us in the past? When you broke both my legs, didn't you think that I'm not innocent? Ha ha ha. Kneel on the ground like a dog and beg me to spare you, spare this innocent person. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The group of people behind followed closely and rushed forward. They waved their fists and used their feet to kick. Earlier, when that man knocked against the crowd, it also allowed Yi Qing Luo to clearly see the appearance of that man who was surrounded by 10 over people. Second young master Ren. Ren Jianming. It was indeed him. Why was he surrounded and beaten up by such a group of people at the Ren family's doorstep? Based on Ren Jianming's ability. Even if he was no longer the Ren family's second young master, it shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with these people. Seeing those 10 over people, their fists and feet were all aimed towards Ren Jianming. Yi Qing Luo patted the little fellow in her arms lightly. Go. Qi Yen flapped its wings as it shook its head hard, unwilling to go forward. Yi Qing Luo poked its head. Be good, listen to me. At the same time, Ren Jianming was punched and kicked by the 10 over men in front of him. The man standing right in front raised his leg and stepped on Ren Jianming's chest. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk as she speedily threw the Qi Yen in her hands towards the crowd. A ball of blazing red flashed past their eyes. The few of them didn't have time to react. Their bodies were flipped over by a huge force. A strong aura enveloped the surroundings. They fell heavily onto the ground. Those who were flipped over one after another crashed into each other. The piercingly cold air waves were like surging tides. More than a dozen people screamed and struggled to get up from the ground. Who are you? How dare you meddle in other people's business? More than a dozen people howled in pain as they glared angrily ahead. But just now, they saw that the beautiful girl who looked gentle like water, who did not have the slightest fluctuation of profound energy on her body, was looking at them with a smile. It's you, bitch. Bitch, you actually dare to attack us? Do you know who we are? Go. I'll deal with this bitch first. The anger of more than a dozen people rose slowly. Each and every one of them clenched their fists and released a powerful profound wave pressure. However, when they pounced ferociously towards Yi Qing Luo. However, it was blocked by a transparent barrier. It was like a sudden wave of qi had blocked all of their attacks. Before he even got close to Yi Qing Luo, the powerful aura sent them flying again. Bang, bang, bang. The cries of pain and the sounds of collisions echoed in the alley. Large patches of red were reflected in the eyes of more than a dozen people. The entire alley had turned into a sea of fire. As though a fire dragon had opened its bloody mouth, spitting out large patches of flames, burning everything in the surroundings. More than a dozen people cried out in terror. Chapter 43-29. But like a fire dragon's flame, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws, as it covered the entire alley. There was nowhere for them to escape. The scorching flame was burning their skin. Obviously, the flame was burning on them. But it didn't burn their clothes or hair. Only that scorching heat enveloped them, like steaming buns, making their breathing became more and more difficult. While the fire dragon was surging, the 10 over people only saw a slender figure, as she slowly walked over. The young lady's blazing red dress blended with the flame, like a blooming poppy, releasing a fatal temptation. The young lady slowly walked in front of Ren Jianming. Following her footsteps, the flame automatically opened up a path. She bent over slightly, as she stretched out a hand towards Ren Jianming. Can you still stand up? The man lying on the ground, covered in blood, opened his eyes in a hazy state. When he met that young lady's face, he grinned. It's you. Why are you here? Under the flame, that man's face was extremely pale, stained with turbid blood and dirt. Yi Qing Luo patiently said, if you don't wish to get up, then I won't help you up. Saying that, she was about to withdraw her hand. Up, up, up. Ren Jianming immediately got up, as he wanted to grab that hand. But the moment he moved, the wounds on his body dragged him, as he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His body uncontrollably fell backwards. Yi Qing Luo impatiently pursed her lips. At the moment when the man fell, one hand grabbed his arm, as she forcefully pulled him up. Really useless. I also feel that. I'm really useless. Ren Jianming's body swayed, as his lips twitched with a bitter smile. The smile on his face looked even uglier than crying. Return to the bone residence. Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes at him, as she pulled him away. Behind her, those 10 over people's pleading voices were heard. Female hero. Female hero, please spare us. We're going to be burned to death. Sir, you're magnanimous, please spare us, this fire. Save us, save us. We're only following orders. Sorry female hero, sorry second young master Ren. 10 over people, in this raging fire, didn't even have the energy to escape. Yi Qing Luo halted her footsteps, as she turned her head to look at those few people who were struggling in the fire. Following orders? Whose orders? The eldest daughter of the Ren family, it's the eldest daughter. Those people hurriedly replied, eldest mistress wants to force second young master Ren to return to the Ren family, so she wants us to teach second young master Ren a lesson, oh? Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled slightly, it's Ren Jianying. I understand now. With that, she turned around and left. We answered your questions, so you let us go. Let us go. The dozen or so people panicked. The feeling of being burned by fire was really unpleasant. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. Her laughter was pleasing to the ear. What a pity. Since you've touched the person I'm looking for, you'll have to pay the price. She didn't even turn around. His footsteps did not slow down at all. He let the screams of the people behind him gradually fade into nothingness. A palm-sized red bird scuttled out from the flames and chased after Yi Qing Luo. He couldn't help cursing, bitch. How dare you treat this sacred beast like this? This sacred beast will never help you again. The flames were still burning. The dozen or so people in the flames had already lost all signs of life. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.